is a presentation of Fox Sports.
Welcome to Atlanta, a city that has hosted World Series, Super Bowls, the Olympics, and today, one of the fastest races on the NASCAR schedule. More than 100,000 fans working their way in to see their favorite drivers flirt with speeds of up to 200 miles per hour.
No rain, no game. We certainly hope not. This could finally be the weekend where the threat of rain is not a concern for the teams. It's more threatening that they might lose, where the focus of speed is not on the speed of the storm, but on the speed of the car. And the only lightning they hope to hear, and only thunder they hope to hear, is from the engines of the car on a track that is lightning fast.
Judy, the fans here in Atlanta love speed. They also love football. Falcons quarterback Michael Vick is quick. He can run a 40-yard dash in about 4.2 seconds. But a Winston Cup car of 4.2 seconds here can cover almost the entire length of the backstretch, 1,600 feet.
This place isn't just fast, it is scary fast. How hard is a guy willing to push himself through these 24-degree banks? Guts, raw guts, matter a lot here in Atlanta.
It's going to be a wild ride on the one and only NASCAR on Fox. Yeah!
Next one.
Georgia. Georgia, the whole thing through. Just an old sweet song keeps Georgia on my mind, Lord, on my mind, on my mind. Just an old sweet song, just an old sweet, just an old sweet, just an old sweet song. Keeps you on my mind, on my mind, on my mind. Loud! Just an old sweet song. Keeps Georgia on my mind.
Fox Sports brings you the NASCAR Winston Cup Series pre-race show, coming to you from the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Our corporate headquarters, the Hollywood Hotel. We arrived on the midnight train to Georgia. We unloaded near Victory Lane, where we bring you closer to the races. We go to where the races are, and nice to have you with us at the Hollywood Hotel trackside. Hi, I'm Chris Myers, and for all of us at Fox Sports, glad to have you with us for this fast ride on the pre-race show. Today, the fourth race of the 36-race season, and we might just see our fourth different winner this year. Last year, Tony Stewart won at this track at a race that was highlighted by 34 lead changes. Tony and teammate Bobby Labonte, two drivers worth watching today. Labonte, along with Bill Elliott, have won 5 times at Atlanta. As for the last Dodge to win at Atlanta, Richard Petty behind the wheel in 1977. Dodges are on the front row in today's race, and Steve Burns is with pole sitter from the 12 car, Ryan Newman.
Well, Chris, Ryan Newman started second in this race a year ago. One better. He starts from the pole. Now, Ryan, in both races here a year ago, you finished 10th. How do you improve on those finishes today?
Well, we came and tested. Hopefully, it'll pay off. The car was really good in race trim, obviously good in qualifying trim. So we definitely got a great race car, a great team. We'll see if things go good for the Autel Dodge.
Confidence good, Ryan?
We'll see what happens. I mean, 500 miles is a long time, and a lot of things can happen. So just got to be in the right place at the right time. But yeah, we're confident.
All right, best of luck, Ryan. Let's go back to the hotel.
All right, thanks, Steve. Joined here at the Hollywood Hotel, Darrell Waltrip, Jeff Hammond. Nice to see you guys. It's good to be in hot Atlanta. All right, things happen so fast around here. In fact, the cars go so fast on the track, you need LASIK surgery to keep an eye on the winner. And with great speed comes great responsibility here.
You really do. You've got to have a lot of responsibility, a lot of focus. Things happen so fast here, folks. The rate of gain here, imagine this. We're at Daytona, but we're not at Daytona. We're at Atlanta, but we're traveling the same speeds we do at a super speedway like Daytona. Everything here happens like lightning, man. It just strikes it's all over.
For a driver, what does it feel like? What are the differences?
Well, here's the thing. A lot of tracks have restrictions. You know, maybe it's plates at Daytona and Talladega. Maybe it's Darlington and the stripe and the wall. There are no restrictions here. This is flat out pure speed. And you talked about the midnight train to Georgia. Yeah. You ever ridden on the Channel?
That goes fast, right?
Well, baby, the Channel is what we're on today.
Well, Tony Stewart called this track the track with the most personality. What does he mean by that?
Right now, what he's talking about, the fast and the furious, because right now you can see these guys are down at the bottom, they're up high, they're in the middle. This racetrack allows you to race anywhere. You can make your car work. You can go there. It's all you got to do is pick your place and go for it.
A mistake anytime, it could cost you, Darrell, but when you're going at a greater speed, obviously a lot more at stake. So would a rookie or a guy with less experience, would he be a little more nervous here, if that's the right word?
I don't think so, Chris. Here's what happened. A few years ago, you know, they reversed the start-finish line. The front used to be over there and the back, so they turned it around. I think that affected a lot of veteran drivers. I don't think they've adjusted to this new shape of the track. It's D-shaped now, start-finish line over here. When I came here, and they moved the start-finish line over here, they changed everything about this joint except the zip code. So it's been easier for the young guys to get a hold of this track and understand it and drive it than I think some of the older guys like Bill Elliott and others who have had a lot of success here.
And Ryan Newman, one of those young guys on the pole, also Kurt Busch, who's just 24 years old. And last week, it was Kurt who went into that race as the points leader. He was last seen leaving Las Vegas in 6th place with more than his feelings hurt. He wasn't the only guy that got bumped around in Las Vegas. Previous week winner Dale Jarrett from Rockingham, he got knocked out of the race, and he's in the wreck here. He's like, I'm a celebrity driver. Get me out of here. But the big wreck, 7 cars involved, including Kurt Busch and Jeff Gordon. This happened on lap 176. Matt Kenseth wound up winning the race, but Michael Waltrip afterwards looked like he was the winner.
Where's Michael going?
I think he's just happy to run good somewhere besides Daytona.
I know he is. I know he is. That's cool. As far as Michael's concerned, he won this race.
Okay, so a look at NASCAR's top 10. This is why Michael was celebrating. He's been driving for 18 years, had never been in the points lead before other than following the week of the Daytona 500. Now, Jimmy Johnson would have been the points leader in Las Vegas had he finished in the top 10. He was battling for 8th place when he was bumped by Sterling Marlin.
Well, we got a battle coming back here. Jimmy Johnson sideways. Him and got together.
How did that car miss it?
He had He's never lifted out the throttle yet, Jimmy had.
I mean, that was a battle for 8th position.
Jimmy Johnson.
And he's sitting there watching all these points go down the drain. Look at Jimmy Johnson. He's done. He's looking for that 40 car. Here he is down here, buddy. He's hot.
Jimmy, calm down a little bit, buddy. NASCAR's got an eye on you here. Calm down, buddy.
Nice work from the crew chief there, doing what you have to do.
I'm telling you right now, that was getting ready to be ugly right there. I'm telling you.
Now, Sterling said, of course, it was not intentional. Jimmy's calmed down. But Darrell, Sterling's been involved in a few of these. Should there be some kind of penalty?
Well, listen, the thing I hate to wear is all one of them racing deals.
Race deal.
Yeah, I don't like that. Look, you look at the 1 car. Bobbles, driver loses control, slams into the guy beside him. The 4 car. Bobble loses control, slams into the guy beside him. The reason people may question what happened with Sterling and Jimmy, that's a pretty smooth little run he made up on the side of Jimmy's there. So what do you think?
What are you shaking your head?
I'm shaking my head right here. What lap was it?
There's the last lap.
But that doesn't
what
are you supposed to do, driver?
You don't take the gloves off.
Can that carry over into today's race if Jimmy has a chance to bump Sterling?
You know, drivers, he was hot at the time. You saw that. He's burning into the pits looking for the guy. And if he found him in, he may have done something about it. But it's a week later, and you could listen to Jimmy Johnson right now. He said, well, I guess maybe, you know, we were just racing. It was for 8th place, and Sterling didn't mean to do that. He's not that kind of guy. They always seem to forget.
All right, there's some of the drivers.
Unlike Jimmy Spencer, who never forgets.
Being introduced, and there is Jimmy Johnson, a short memory. Kurt Busch, who won in Atlanta last October, he starts 9th today, and he is standing by right now with Matt Yoakum. Matt?
And the most recent Atlanta winner, Kurt Busch, won the Winston Cup race here last fall, and then last night dominated and won a big remote control car event, especially after last week. Atlanta couldn't come at a better time. How do you rate your chances for the big three-peat?
We'll see how it shakes up. I mean, we've got a good car, and the balance has changed on it, and we've worked on it the best that we could. And, you know, just to break away last night, we had a great time up at the Bowlink headquarters. They had a racetrack, and we were racing. I mean, the last time I ventured off and did something like that, I was running 4.2s over at the Bristol Little racetrack, and we won the next day. So we'll see how things shape up for today.
He's trying for back-to-back wins. The last guy here at Atlanta to do that, Jeff Gordon. To Nick Bergeron.
Bill Elliott has won 5 poles here in Atlanta. He's won the race 5 times. He has led more laps than any other driver in today's event, won more top 5s than any other driver in today's event, and he lives right down the road in Dawsonville. Have you got a home track advantage here?
I don't think so. I think that was in the past racing configuration, but I've been pretty fortunate here. I've had a good career here, but you know, this is another day. A lot of things, you know, these kids have come along and make you live hard, make you work hard for your money all day long.
Well, the fans in the grandstand sure love this guy. They will erupt when he is introduced. To Chris.
Momentum.
All right, thank you very much. And the hometown favorites, of course, we're chatting in between. We were listening. Now, Kurt Busch didn't do well on his trip back to Las Vegas. Bill Elliott, he hasn't done all that well as he's come back to Georgia, at least recently.
No, you know, he hadn't had a top 10 here in 13 races. And this used to be a track that when it was Bill Elliott's racetrack. So he struggled here. He was on the pole last year. He's on the outside pole this year. Bill needs a good run. He really does.
Now, Kurt Busch, Darrell, back in I think it was '79, you were sailing along. You had a wreck. This was early in his career, but you wonder if the wreck he was involved in at his hometown track might affect him the rest of the way.
Well, I think that's the thing we got to watch for with this kid right here. You know, kids get on a high and they have a great time and everything's cool. Now in the back of his mind he says, man, I wrecked last week. It may have broken that string of successes he's had, and it could affect him. And I'm interested to see if it does or not.
And you were down in the garage earlier today, and I think they're pretty confident, Kurt Busch and his crew.
They're very confident. I don't think it's going to affect him at all, Darrell. The way these guys here look at where they're racing their car, he takes one race at a time, and he gets up for it. And this weekend, I don't think it's any different. Last weekend is already gone. He's totally focused on trying to get through Atlanta and reclaim that point lead if he can.
Nothing. When you go on the racetrack, you want to focus. You don't want anything on your mind. And if you start thinking about what happened last week, you'll get in trouble this week.
All right, and we'll get your predictions. Actually, it sounds like there's some disagreement about who you like in today's race.
We haven't agreed on anything all day.
I know. That's a good sign. All right, if you want to be a Grand Marshal at the Winston Cup race, enter the BA NASCAR Grand Marshal for a Day contest. Tune in when the green flag drops here. Look for the secret number on the animated car, and then log on to NASCAR.com or FoxSports.com, and the winner will start the race, ride in the pace car, and wave the checkered flag. Next year at the Rock, be a NASCAR Grand Marshal for a day. The contest continues Sunday on Fox. We'll continue with our pre-race shows. You get a look live in Atlanta. The pre-race festivities. There's Matt Kenseth, and we'll take a look at how he and his crew chief have created quite a dynamic duo when we come back on Fox. Fox welcomes you back live in Atlanta as we count you down to the Bass Pro Shops MVNA 500. And in the last 6 races here, they've had 6 different winners. There's our points leader, Michael Waltrip, who's also a dad.
That's my niece, Macy, there.
Right, 4-year-old?
4 or 5. I think she's 4 or 5.
One of his 2 children. And we already showed you how Waltrip, Michael celebrated his 3rd place finish in Vegas, which catapulted him to the top. Dale Earnhardt Jr. finished 2nd in that race thanks to great pit stops by his crew. In fact, the 8 car won the McDonald's drive-thru championship fueled by Powerade. Junior's team spent only 225 seconds on pit road. And the team won $20,000 for last week's victory, and they're competing for the $200,000 season-long prize. As you can look at the standings overall, we'll update this every week on our pre-race show. And Michael leading the pack, Robbie Gordon in 2nd place, and Casey Mears, the rookie, in the hunt as well. Pit crew is as valuable as cornermen in championship fights. And when Matt Kenseth won last week, the first people he thanked were his award-winning pit crew members. And although some of those crew members have changed, crew chief Robbie Reiser has kept Kenseth on the winning track.
What's going on here?
I don't know. I wish I knew exactly so we could hang on to it, but it's been, last year was an unbelievably good season for us, and to start this season off with a win right away, especially a big win like Las Vegas, it's just been unbelievable for us.
Your success has been contributed a lot to your crew chief, Robbie Reiser.
Yeah, I mean, Robbie's strong suits are definitely, leading the group and having everything organized. I'm spoiled because I've been with Robbie since 1997, but he does a great job of motivating the pit crew and making them practice their pit stops and work hard at it and get the guys to want to be there and to want to work there.
Today, a lot of people here in the garage area look at Robbie Reiser and say, if you're going to win a race, he's one of the guys you've got to beat. And his pit crew has probably raised the standard on pit road. How does that make you feel?
Well, it makes me feel good for all the guys that are part of our team. Those are the people that do it every day, and they're the ones that step up and make the competition level where it is. So it's all about them. It really has nothing to do with me, but I'm real proud of what they've accomplished.
this is what you call a Sunday afternoon drive for that 17 car.
Before he was a winning crew chief, Reiser was a pretty good driver himself. In fact, he used to race against Kenseth on the short tracks in Wisconsin.
Raced against each other quite a bit, probably 4 or 5 years.
Oh yeah, I mean, when Robbie and I used to race against each other, we weren't really, you know, best of friends, but we were racing against each other, you know. And Robbie's, it's a lot easier being on Robbie's side than being against him, for sure.
Do you miss driving now?
Well, I miss driving when we got a 9-second lead. You know, I don't even look at it that way. I love stock car racing. It don't matter if I'm driving them or working on them or whatever I'm doing. I just love doing it, and I got a passion for it. So I don't really miss any of it because I'm doing it. I'm actually doing it the same way. It's just I'm part of the team. It's just not turning the steering wheel.
He takes it seriously, just like he takes winning seriously right now. When he raced and he drove, he took winning seriously too, and that's what he was out there for, was to win that race. And he wasn't out there to make friends. He showed up to win. He's the same way today.
And the two making Wisconsin proud. They were working together in the Busch Series, continue the success. Most crew chiefs, do they come, the good ones, former drivers? Is that...
all the good ones are former drivers.
He was never a driver, was he? Really?
Well,
now, wait a minute. Let me ask you
there are a few
exceptions. Larry McReynolds is a good crew chief.
Yes.
And I know he's not a good driver. Now, come on now.
So if you're not a former driver, where else is a crew chief, as we get a look at Robbie and Matt discussing?
I still say right now, Chris, when you make a good crew chief, you just got to have the understanding of that driver. You've got to be willing to get inside his heart and his soul and understand where he's coming from. That chemistry is so important.
It used to be you had to be a good mechanic.
Mm-hmm.
Now you've got to be a good people person.
Okay. You got to get inside them heads.
Psychology.
You got to be a button pusher. You got to know what button to push.
And how about today, Darrell, with a driver in the speeds as fast as with a crew chief? Do you lean on him to kind of tell you to back off a little?
Listen, this thing is 500 miles long. This is a 500-mile race at really, really high speeds. You can run your car to death. You can kill your car. You can kill that right front tire. So what you've got to do is you've got to hold back a little bit. Right. You can't run this race lap after lap after lap, hammering like you do a lot of places. And he's got to tell you that.
That's right. You got to pace yourself a little bit, but you've also got to worry about having that spotter stay on top of things, because the rate of gain here, when you close up on some slow traffic, sometimes it can get you in so much trouble. And giving that driver an opportunity to stay out of that is very important, because all of a sudden he runs up behind somebody, it's going to make him mad. Hey, help me out, help me out.
Yesterday, Robbie Reiser obviously had him and Matt Kenseth. They had a little bit of a scare, and this is some terrific work. This is in the happy hour. Kenseth, and he does a nice job of saving this.
Chris, this is how easily you can get in trouble here.
Look at Michael right here.
There was nothing wrong with his car. He had no flat tire or anything. He was just coming out of the fourth turn, really carrying a lot of speed, and the thing just got out from under him. That can happen to you so easily here because you're going so dadgum fast.
All right, Kenseth will start 24th. His best finish in Atlanta so far was 4th, and that was last year. All right, another winning combo is the Greg Zipadelli-Tony Stewart tandem. Stewart has 3 straight top 10 finishes here in Atlanta, and he, of course, won the race last year. His sponsor, Home Depot, headquartered here in the Atlanta area. And with this win in the 20 car, it propelled Stewart to the points championship, and he'll start from row 4 today. And for more on the driver nicknamed Smoke, let's check in with Matt Yoakum. Matt?
Chris, what a win a year ago. Tony Stewart's first ever 500-mile win in anything. Coming back to try to jumpstart your second title dream here. You couldn't pick a better place. Your crew told me you parked the car early in happy hour. Is that an indicator of how stout that race car is?
I was pretty happy with it yesterday, but today's a new day, and to be honest, the conditions are very different today. You know, we didn't know for sure what to anticipate today, but the car felt so adjustable yesterday that I think even with the sun coming out that, you know, we may not be, if we're not perfect on the first run, we're going to get over there pretty quick, I think.
Now, I understand you've got a huge guest here. You're a big music fan. It's not Kid Rock. It's not Third Eye Blind. It's who?
Well, actually, we got Kenny Rogers with us today. He's really good friends with the Nardelli family. Bob Nardelli is the CEO of Home Depot, and we had a little barbecue at his house yesterday, and Kenny came over with his wife and played some music and everything. So got a neat set of people with us today, you know, including the Home Depot CEO, and just a lot of our corporate sponsors are from down here with Coca-Cola and Home Depot here. We got a lot of neat people hanging out with us today.
It's not his home track, but it's close enough to be his home track. Let's now go to Steve Burns. Steve?
Thanks, Matt. 5 of Bobby Labonte's 19 Winston Cup victories have come on this track. You finished fourth at Vegas. That's a pretty good stat, wasn't it? You finished fourth at Vegas. You start fourth today. Do you guys come in here with momentum, Bobby?
Yeah, I mean, I think all the guys have. I know they brought a good race car here. If we can just hang around all day and be there at the end, I think we'll be competitive, and we'll see where it goes. Weather's changed a little bit from yesterday, but like the chances of Interstate Battery Chevrolet, the guys have done a great job all year. We did have a top 5 last weekend at Las Vegas, so that's really good for us.
Best of luck, Bobby. Let's go to Dick Berggren.
Jimmie Johnson finished third in last year's running of this event. He's just about to climb into his weapon. How was this car?
Race car's great. We had a great qualifying effort, got us good pit stall, good starting position. We're really excited about today's race in Los Monte Carlo. This track was really good to me in the spring, and then in the fall last year we had some problems. So I think we've got everything situated. We know what hurt us in the fall. We're ready for today's race.
And he's got the same car he finished third in the spring. To Jeannie.
Well, Joe Nemechek may be starting 13th, but there is nothing unlucky about it. In fact, he may be behind one of the most fortunate cars here on this track. Turns out, Winston Cup drivers behind the wheel of the number 25 car have claimed 4 of the last top 5s here in the 5 races on this track. So I guess as it turns out, it's just as important to have the right number on the side of your car as you post throughout the race, especially in Atlanta.
Thanks, Jeannie. And how about that? I mean, if you got the good car, is this the track where the driver maybe not as critical?
Well, no, I don't know about that, but here's one thing I do know. It doesn't matter where you start. I mean, Bobby Labonte's a good proof
He won
of that.
from 39th,
But what you've got to have, Chris, this is a track where you got to be comfortable, and that thing has got to handle good for you all day, and you got to be sure that you keep the tires on it. Because when the tires go off here, you can get lapped just like that. If you're at the back of the field on the start of this race, you're off a little bit, you're going to go a lap down. You run it up front, you wear the tires out, you're going to go a lap down. Hard to make up a lap at this joint.
Yeah, what he's trying to say right there, again, is also you got to think about the driver's physical ability here. This place will wear you out just physically running around because you're carrying so much momentum through these corners, and you've got to be up on the wheel the whole time. So, again, going back to trying to pace yourself, getting that comfort mode, and you don't want to hear that crew chief come on the radio and say, leader's only 2 seconds behind you, because then you know you're in big trouble.
Yeah, well, you don't want him coming on the radio and saying, boy, you ain't laying down on me. Right. But I did hear Tony Stewart say that he had to make a front end, a caster adjustment to make his car steer a little easier for him because of that physical strain that he's going to be under all day long. When you look in there and you see a driver like this,
he's leaning.
He's just all in there like that. He's not moving. You say, well, he's not doing anything, folks. Trust me. He's locked up from his jaws to his toes.
And also, you pointed out 500 miles. And again, how hot is it getting a car when a guy's out there?
Today, it's a sunny day, and they haven't had that all weekend.
Exactly.
It's a sunny day. I'm going to say 130, 40 degrees today on a nice, comfortable Sunday afternoon drive with the heater on.
Now we have all the information. Kenny Rogers was at the drivers' meeting, too,
yes,
as they
he was.
pointed
He was
out.
looking good, too.
Yeah, so
let's
time to ask our panel of experts their expert opinion about today's race. So we start at the back of the field. That's the way we do it on this show. So let's bring in Larry McReynolds to let him go first, Larry, and then we'll let the guys go here. Who do you like in today's race? He's a genius.
I am in 3rd place, but it's been 24 years since here in the spring race at Atlanta, since a driver won the pole and the race. But, guys, that's coming to an end today. I've watched him all weekend. I'm going with Ryan Newman, who starts from the pole.
Well, now, how can you argue with a genius? But at the same time, Larry, I am going to argue with you because of the fact that I believe Bobby Labonte is going to continue to do his deal.
Well, again, I'm just going to go with – last week I went with a favorite, and he crashed out. I hope I don't do that to Tony Stewart. But I'm going with a 20 car. That man knows how to get around this joint, and he's up on the wheel.
Joe Gibbs has a lot of success right here. He's had 6 wins here.
6 wins. How can you argue with that?
All right, let's take a look at the standings overall. We told you that Larry was coming from behind, but we got a long season to go. You see Darrell has an actual win. Hammond playing the percentages like Bobby Labonte when he won the points championship, right? Not necessarily wins, but just finish and stay in contention, and we'll keep an eye on that. Hey, and I saw where Matt Borland, a crew chief who also has a degree in engineering with Ryan Newman in the 12 car, saying this is, they can talk speed, but handling is going to be very, very important here. He's emphasized
You've got to handle. You just got to handle so you can save the tires so the guy can keep after it all day long. The tires are going to be the key again today.
All right,
we're graduates of the University of Rhonda up there in North Carolina.
What's that, Hard Knocks? All right, before we send you off to the race to wrap up our pre-race show, some news coming out this weekend regarding one of NASCAR's biggest and brashest personalities. As you get a look in his car, Kevin Harvick, who won his first Winston Cup race here in Atlanta 2 years ago, signing a 3-year contract extension, keeping him in the 29 car through 2006 with Richard Childress Racing. Kevin's looking for his first win this year. He's in the top 10 in points, and that's something for Happy Harvick to sing about, and he did for all of us. The race we're counting down to, but Happy, why don't you take us out, all right?
Y'all think I'm angry? It just ain't so. We're here to race. So let's go, go, go. NASCAR on Fox. Yeah! Now I really got the blues.
NASCAR on Fox welcomes you to Atlanta Motor Speedway for the NASCAR Winston Cup Series, presented by the Home Depot. Ground was broken for Atlanta Motor Speedway concurrent with Daytona, and this track opened in 1960. These were the concrete front stretch grandstands, the suites, and boxes were added later. But in 1990, Bruton Smith bought this track and turned it around literally, making the backstretch the D-shaped front stretch, building condos in Turn 4, and building, some say overbuilding, this huge grandstand that can accommodate nearly 200,000. The place is not filled to capacity, but it's a strong crowd on hand today to hear these words.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, please rise and remove your hats as the Warner Robins Air Force Honor Guard present today's colors, followed by Dr. Robert White, Executive Director of the Georgia Baptist Convention, as he delivers today's invocation.
Our Father, we thank you for this beautiful day and for this magnificent world that you've given to us, for the beauty of the wildlife and natural resources, and those who protect them and nurture them. We pray today for the safety of our drivers and for every pit crew and for every spectator. And most especially today, we pray for the safety of our American troops across the world. We pray that you would guide them as they defend freedom. We thank you for our President, George W. Bush. We pray that you would give him unique wisdom, give him guidance for all that he does. And Father, we thank you for this great nation. We pray that you would bless the United States of America. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Please remain standing as Grammy Award-winning country singer from East Texas, Linda Davis, performs today's national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Special thanks to Linda Davis and those A-10s from the 111th Fighter Wing from Willow Grove Air Reserve Station. Ground coordination provided by Roger Brooks and the 165th ASOS. Please welcome, representing Bass Pro Shops, Bill Dance, Johnny Morris, and Rob Keck for the most famous words in motorsports.
On behalf of all the wonderful people at Bass Pro Shops, Tracker Boats, and MB&A, this is dedicated to the armed forces around the world, God bless them, and to the American fishermen across our nation.
And the over 15 million hunters, the true conservationists of this world.
now you know how turkeys say boogity, boogity, boogity.
In their own little way.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Atlanta Motor Speedway. To fill your need for speed, this is the place. Mike Joy with Larry McReynolds. Darrell Waltrip will join us shortly. Well, we've been to Las Vegas, the first of the high-speed, mile-and-a-half downforce tracks, and here, Larry, we ratcheted up a notch in terms of speed. But how different is this place from last week's Las Vegas?
Well, I mean, we go to a lot of unique, different racetracks, but this racetrack, it contains all of the elements. I mean, it takes about 30 seconds to get around this racetrack, but almost 2/3 of that time is spent in the corners. But you're entering the corners at almost 200 miles an hour, so a little bit of Daytona elements, a lot of horsepower, a little bit of luck, and making those right adjustments as this race goes on.
They practiced in cloudy, very humid conditions. Today it is sunny. Will that throw a monkey wrench at the works?
There is no question. I mean, you heard Tony Stewart in the pre-race talk about how much different. You have to practice yesterday, but you have to build adjustments into that race car, and you'll be seeing even cars that are leading the race, those crew chiefs, making adjustments all day long.
A lot of great bands come out of the Atlanta area. Let's let one of them, REM, send us racing here on Fox today.
There's no better way to start off a week than with a race.
Hello, I saw you, I know you, I knew you. I think I can remember your name. Hello, I'm sorry I lost myself. I think I thought you were someone else. Should we talk about the weather?
Matt Kenseth hits the jackpot in Las Vegas and scores his 7th career Winston Cup victory. Welcome back to Atlanta Motor Speedway. Winston Cup racing on Fox, presented by Home Depot today. 500 miles on what's become NASCAR's fastest track. And as Larry and I spoke, it's a different day than yesterday.
I mean, definitely. And then when the temperatures come up on this racetrack and that sun is beating down right now, I mean, we have not had track temperature like that at all this week. And that's what I say in the beginning. These guys are going to have to make adjustments on this race car, because these cars will definitely start to slide around. There you see Dale Earnhardt Jr. Looked like maybe they was having trouble getting the safety wind in that facet.
Yeah,
Darrell Waltrip joins us.
One of the things about the changing into conditions like this is we saw last week you can get lapped in a hurry. If your car's off, and it may be because of the weather, you could get lapped in a hurry, and then you're in a hole and got to dig yourself out like our man Ryan Newman did last week.
Well, Budweiser, official beer of NASCAR, proud sponsor of the Bud Pole Award, given to the fastest qualifier at each Winston Cup race. It's Ryan Newman's 8th career pole, and that'll put him in the Bud Shootout of 2004. He'll join Bobby Labonte, Dave Blaney, and Jeff Green. Since 1979, Anheuser-Busch has awarded more than $8 million as title sponsor of NASCAR's Pole Award program. Here's the starting lineup with Ryan Newman alongside hometown hero Bill Elliott. Up there on the front row, 2 Dodges. Elliott Sadler with Bobby Labonte, who's quite a favorite here. Jimmy Spencer, strong effort, starts in the 3rd row alongside Michael Waltrip. Rusty Wallace and Tony Stewart, who also both rank as favorites here.
Let's see if we can get Flying Ryan to give us a word here. Ryan Newman, this is DW up in the Fox TV booth. How you read, bud?
Clear, DW.
Man, you got a fast hot rod. This is a fast racetrack. What are you going to do today?
We're going to try to go fast. Like you said, Auto Dodge is running good, qualified good, practice good in the race trim. So see how things go. But just one of those deals, you know, like anybody else, got to get 500 miles in.
10-4. You know, last week you got in trouble early. How's the car? You think the weather's going to make have any effect on it today, or are you good to go?
I think we're as unsure as everybody else. It's the first time we've seen the sun here in 3 days. So hopefully we're good.
All right, my man, we'll be watching you. You're fun to watch, and we'll talk to you later.
Thank you.
Ryan Newman's Dodge rolls from the pole. His mentor, Buddy Baker, was the last man to win the pole in the race on the same day here, and almost a quarter century ago.
24 years ago.
He drives a lot like old Baker did, you know.
He certainly does.
He's got all right foot.
I tell you, Ryan Newman, those guys, they tested down here several weeks ago. They were the fastest in practice before qualifying. They set on the pole, and they were the fastest in yesterday's practice.
And this is one of those places, Larry, that speed is important. You got to have a fast race car to win here. It's got to handle good, but that sucker's got a motor down these little straightaways, too.
Let's get the late word from pit road, beginning with Dick Berggren.
Well, Elliott Sadler has a good starting position. He also has a great motor. It's a Yates motor under the hood, and the car is handling beautifully. Sadler tested here for 2 days. He is a real threat to win this event. To Matt.
Big Jeff Green starts 28th. His best finish this year, 27th. He enters Atlanta 40th in points. Big weekend for him. He needs to turn around his bad luck. Had a flat tire at Daytona, Rockingham, 2 at Las Vegas. And guess what? Earlier this week, he went hunting. 12-degree weather. He and Richard Childress went to dinner. Flat tire on the way to the restaurant. They had to change it. He hopes he's changing his luck right here in Atlanta. To Jeannie Zalasko. To Steve Burns.
Well, Matt, Kurt Busch won here in the fall, but crew chief Jimmy Fennig brought a new race car here this morning. They changed shocks and springs. Fennig saying, I'm not really sure what we have. We'll have to wait till the green flag drops. To Jeannie.
Well, this is just the second time that Jack Sprague will race a Cup car here in Atlanta, and it is no place for the faint of heart. At practice the other day, he went to put his foot on the throttle, and the car got loose. He admits, I was scared to death, but the rookie is not alone. There are a number of veterans out here that will admit they have to hold their breath still when they go around the track at Atlanta.
He wasn't the only driver to have trouble in qualifying. Rookie Larry Foyt had a stuck throttle. Didn't complete his lap. He'll start out back.
Yeah, he probably said, you know, the only way you run around here fast is hold it wide open. And he said, I can't. Well, he said, we'll help you.
There you see.
Just kidding.
43 cars, 325 laps, $5.4 million in the pit window. 58 to 62 laps, and pretty much it will be 4 tires if you go that distance. We may see some 2-tire stops late in the race to get to the end, but the thing about it, this place is known for long green runs. You don't want to get stuck with 2 tires and having to make that 58-lap run.
The big unknown today, like it's been every week of this season, is the weather. But not later today, the weather at the start of the race. It's bright and sunny. Practice and qualifying, cool and overcast. Nobody knows what to expect. Pace car heads off toward pit road. Driver, buddy, it's all yours.
CW, like I tell you, reach up there and pull them belts tight one last time.
We're ready to go here. It's going to be fun. Here they come. Here they come. Boogity, 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 boys. Let's go racing.
Tony Stewart, a 20 car, the orange car, he jumped to the high side there in a hurry.
He did that because Bobby Labonte did not come up through the gears very quickly. Stewart thought he might be able to take advantage, but no. They square off just like they started, 2 by 2.
But he got a good run on that high side off turn 2 down the backstretch.
And just remember, you know, you look back here and you say, man, they're racing awful hard, and it's only the first lap. You cannot lose contact with the front cars. You got to keep everything, you got to keep them in sight.
Daryl, I know those cars behind Ryan Newman are side by side, but did you see how he accelerated off that corner right around the bottom off turn 4?
You know what, he is ready. He is ready to go.
Fire in his eyes.
Bill Elliott in second place, leading the pack. Newman has started 3 races at Atlanta. Surprise, he has led them all.
Hey, let's watch that car in 3rd place right there. The 7 car, Jimmy Spencer, started in 5th. He likes this racetrack. There you see the Fox tracks. He's a 2.5 seconds behind Jimmy Spencer. Tony Stewart goes to the inside of Elliott Sadler. That's a battle for 5th.
The thing about Spencer is he was fast in practice. He qualified well, so he's got his car under him this weekend.
And this is a Jimmy Spencer type of a racetrack. Just manhandle that race car, drive that thing till your heart stops getting down in the corner.
6th place, Elliott Sadler side by side with Rusty Wallace. Going off into turn 3, Wallace to the advantage.
Yeah, you're right, Larry. This is one of those places where you need anything. No, just give me some more tires and some more fuel.
They made a bunch of adjustments on Elliott Sadler's car this morning on the 38 car. They've been fighting and pushing. The thing about this place, if it's pushing, not turning, it's just going to get worse on into a run.
Yeah, you just wear the right front tire out. You can't get back in the gas. When you do, you skate the front end, and it'll just wear that right front tire out. And that's a big fear a driver has here, is blowing that right front tire out.
Now the first 15 are single file. Here's the first battle. Steve Park underneath Robbie Gordon. Dale Jarrett right in the middle of it. Remember, he and Park got together last week. Inside goes Johnny Benson.
I watched Dale Jarrett in practice yesterday, and his car was really, really hooked up right around the bottom, right on the white line.
Ryan Newman at a 12-car length lead. That's almost 1 second over Bill Elliott.
And you know, the interesting thing is we watch Bill Elliott in the 9 car. We've seen this already this year, where he starts up front, he's able to stay there, but it almost seems like once they sequence through pit stops and the track starts to change, you know, he just gets back in the pack and can't get back up there.
Yeah, I just don't think Bill's comfortable. He just doesn't look comfortable to me when he gets in traffic. When he gets cars around him, I don't know if it's his car. I'm not sure what the problem is, but he just doesn't like being in traffic.
We saw a little bit of help me, I'll help you later. Bobby Labonte eased over to let Tony Stewart go. Tony had a run. They are teammates at Joe Gibbs Racing, but that has allowed Rusty Wallace to close in. Just ahead of them, here comes Mongo.
Yeah,
that's
Mongo,
what we've named the dog on the hood.
Dog on the hood, and he is coming, baby. Oh, 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 oh. Come on there, Spence.
Would you say that dog's hunting today?
That baby's got his nose down and his tail up.
And he's right around the bottom of the racetrack. You see Elliott start to run the high side. Now, that don't necessarily mean his car's not driving good, even though Spencer's going to go by him for second. But that's the great thing about this place. They'll run the high side, they'll run the low side.
What that means is he looked back, he saw Mongo on the hood. He said, I think I'll move up a little bit and give him some room.
Whoa!
Baby!
Textbook definition, loose.
I mean,
all that is you're coming off of there, Mike, Larry, you got the wheels turned hard left, you're underneath somebody, you're accelerating 800 horsepower, and all of a sudden that front end catches and the back end swings out.
And he had to jump out of the throttle, and you saw Tony Stewart in the 20 car able to pull right up beside him, and Bobby Labonte, his teammate in 18. Man, now Spencer gets some momentum back.
It almost looked like something happened to Elliott going in there that time, or else they were just coming that much faster than he was.
Rusty Wallace has now caught that pack, and so has Jimmy Johnson.
Yes, he has. You know, we heard in his interview in the pre-race he was happy with his race car, started back in 11th, and he's up there right on the rear bumper of Rusty Wallace.
I looked for Rusty Wallace to have a pretty good day today. He's really been concerned about how his car has been fast like it was at Rockingham, but he ended up not winning the race. They've made a lot of changes to compensate for that today.
And he's as hungry for a win as that dog on Spencer's hood.
Got the gusto of a hungry hound.
But right now, that 48 car, he's hungry. As he pulls underneath Rusty Wallace, you see the Fox track right there. He's about a little over 3 seconds behind Ryan Newman. Rusty on the high side was able to keep the momentum down the front stretch, though, coming off forward. Darrell, it almost looked like Jimmy's out handling Rusty, but I believe Rusty's handling pretty good down that straightaway.
That's where I like for him to handle, down that straightaway, baby. It makes your job a lot easier when you can pass them in a straight line.
Boy, we got a battle right here, though, for second with these 4 cars. Bill Elliott, Jimmy Spencer, Tony Stewart, Bobby Labonte. It's 7 cars, actually.
Yeah, Joe Nemechek's caught them now. The red car at the top of the screen. There.
And don't be surprised if at some point in time today we don't say that 25 car's got a pretty good chance of winning this race.
And this is a good battle right here, but while these guys are doing this battling, Ryan Newman, the leader, he's pulled out to almost a 3-second lead.
He's down about Macon right now. I don't know. These other boys at Griffin.
Bye-bye.
I mean, you see that group right there, you almost see 3 different grooves, 3 different lines they're running through the corner. One on the bottom, one in the middle, and one on the high side. It's good to see Jimmy Spencer running good in that 7 car. I mean, we've talked to him, Darrell. He's got confidence right now in his race car and in what he's doing. And I think maybe he's going to show somebody, I can still drive one of these race cars.
Well, I think Jimmy's one of those kind of drivers, you've got to listen to what he's telling you and give him what he wants. He is a driver that knows what it takes to go fast, but you got to give it to him. You can't just argue with him.
Darrell, at these speeds, is this kind of racing, is it fun for the driver, or is it nerve-wracking?
Not much fun right now. You just want to get, what you'd like to do is get what we call in a rhythm. Get somewhere by yourself and be able to run your own pace. Here's a cat that's moving up like gangbusters, oh buddy. Started dead last back there in the back. He's up to 23rd place. Dale Jr. is on a mission. That car's been screwed up all weekend. I mean, he couldn't even qualify it.
And, you know, looking at the score monitor, even back there racing, he's about a 10th quicker than leader Ryan Newman right now.
Another fast mover, Rusty Wallace, who's made the move on Tony Stewart. That's for 6th place.
And Darrell, I talked to Rusty's crew chief, Bill Wilburn, this morning. He told me we've kind of changed our practice philosophy. We're not throwing fresh tires at it constantly because we know we're not going to be on fresh tires the entire race.
Rusty Wallace has a really bad habit of making a change, going out and running one corner and coming in and say, I don't like that. I've never seen Rusty sit out there and run 10, 15, 20 laps like most of these other guys do.
Boy, I tell you, right up in front of Rusty, a car that is on the move is Jimmy Johnson, that 48 car. I mean, he is picking a car off a lap.
And that's, you know, that's a big change from last year here when he kept spinning out. I mean, this place, probably the last race here last year, cost him a good shot at winning the championship.
Now, one car that was up with that pack battling has now dropped to 9th. That's Elliott Sadler. Dick?
Well, Elliott has radioed to his crew and said that the front end just won't stick, but his lap times are looking really good, Mike. Lap after lap, Sadler seems to be cutting laps that are as good as, if not better than Newman's. So he's obviously found a line around the speedway that's allowing him to overcome his problem.
Dick, to further add on what Darrell Waltrip was talking about, Chad Knossover, they had a horrible race here last fall, spun out twice, but in the spring they were very good. They've gone back to their philosophy from the first half of last year. Just try to go as fast as you can every lap. Don't think about points. Don't worry about the win. If you're fast, you're going to be there at the end. His car a little bit tight now. Not a major concern, Jimmy says, but it could be later in the race because this track tends to tighten up.
Last year they had a shot at winning a championship. I think it affected the way they raced. You can't alter your racing style. You got to do what he's doing today. Hammer it, baby.
16 laps complete. Ryan Newman has led them all from the pole. It's Dodge, Chevy, Chevy, Dodge, Chevy.
And the guy in second, he's proven that long run in practice yesterday. It's happening today.
Welcome back to Atlanta. The Bass Pro Shops MBNA 500. New sheriff in town. Bobby Labonte just whistled past Ryan Newman to take over the lead.
I mean, guns a-blazing, baby. He didn't just wait. He just blew by him. He put a dang Linda Ronstadt on him.
Blew by you.
Blew by you. Yeah.
I mean, Ryan looks like now that we're about 20 laps into this run, he can't get in the throttle in the middle of the corner.
And look at what happened back in the pack.
Oh, this is ugly right here. I was looking right at this. I was jumping up out of my seat. Whoa, boys, whoa.
John Andretti in the 43, Steve Parkin in the 1, and Jeff Gordon in the 24 right there with them.
No, that wasn't trouble. That's just good racing right there. Rubbins racing.
And I thought John Andretti had used up all his luck last week in Las Vegas. What about Jeff Gordon, Steve?
Mike, talking to crew chief Robbie Loomis this morning, he said they are going to make a shock change to the front of that race car. He said they're going to start this race on the freer side, looser side, anticipating changes for the end of the race.
You know, that's probably not a bad move under normal conditions, but I think the problem with the heat out and the sun being down on this racetrack, I think it's going to go a little bit to the loose side. Normally it goes to the tight side.
You know what? I bet you. I bet he didn't tell Jeff that.
Joe Nemechek and Ryan Newman, our pole sitter. Dick Berggren, what's happened to Newman?
Well, on lap 3, he called his pit area, and he said that the car was tight coming off the corners. On lap 18, he called back again and said it was loose off the corners. Then he called in and said it's loose in as well. Now he's saying that the car is steering with the rear end. Tajini.
Well, Bobby Labonte came into this race basically saying, look, I want to be more consistent. I want to be more competitive. It's all about trying to lead more laps, and that is what his crew chief, Michael McSwain, is trying to help him do. By the way, McSwain thinks he may have outsmarted Mother Nature, guys. He made 2 very long runs during the practice sessions yesterday and decided to not make too many changes because they knew it was going to be drastically different today. And right now, Bobby Labonte very happy in his car. It's turning out so far so good.
These guys right here are having a wheel of a race. The 8 and the 24. Dale Jr. was pushing the 24 down through here a minute ago. He's after him.
Yeah, this is a battle for back about 14th, and Kurt Busch in the 97 car coming off that bad luck last week at Las Vegas. He's right in the middle of this group too. Talked to Jimmy Finney, his crew chief, this morning. He said, Larry, we're missing something with these new bodies at these high downforce racetracks.
Biggest movers in the race. Dale Jr. leads the list of drivers who've improved their position the most.
And they would definitely do the list probably for changes made on a race car during the course of a weekend.
I mean, I am really, really impressed because I tell you, you saw the guy try to qualify. He couldn't even run a lap. And all through practice, he couldn't even run a lap. They had to bring it in and work on it. So they've definitely hit the combination for today. Maybe they just had a Sunday set up in it and it didn't work on Friday and Saturday.
All right, folks, watch carefully. And then log on to NASCAR.com or FoxSports.com on Lycos and enter for your chance to be Grand Marshal for the day at the 2004 Winston Cup race at Rockingham. Teammates, Newman and Wallace.
I mentioned earlier, Ryan Newman, they did come down here and test, and I know Rusty and those guys really benefited from the information they got from Ryan Newman and that group when they came down here and tested.
Yeah, I think you take a guy like Rusty who knows this racetrack's going to get loose, and you take a rookie like Ryan who knows he can make his car go fast, you take the two combinations somewhere in the middle, you're going to come up with a good, comfortable Rusty Wallace racing setup, I believe.
Kurt Busch, Jeff Gordon, 12th place, 11 seconds behind the leader.
One of the hardest things to learn, Mike, is that you don't always have to race the stopwatch. You don't always have to be at the top of the list to have a car that can win the race. You got to think about what it's going to do in the race.
Boy, Dale Jr.'s car really drives into the corner nicely, and he's able to pull it right down to the white line as he goes underneath Kurt Busch coming off turn 4.
Well, I was talking to Michael, and he said he and Dale Jr.'s car were so totally different. Maybe Dale Jr. took some notes off of Michael and improved upon it because he drove by Michael and's gone on.
You know, guys, a guy that had a pretty decent qualifying run on Friday, qualified 14th, and I think this group was looking forward to this racetrack. Jerry Nadeau in the Army car, the 01 car there. I mean, his season, they've had good runs, but he's not finished better than 22nd. But there's something about this racetrack. This kid has always ran well here, especially when he was in that Rick Hendrick 25 car.
And speaking of that 25 car, he has moved into 3rd place, and that's a car I think we need to keep our eye on all day long because that car has won the last 5 races here. It's had a 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and a 4th, and Nadeau would have won here if he hadn't run out of gas.
Jerry Nadeau's got a new crew chief today. He's the vice chief of the Army. He's got 4 stars on his shoulder. That'll get you moving. Here is Joe Nemechek, who is running in 3rd place, 2 seconds off the lead. Steve?
As DW mentioned, Joe Nemechek finished 2nd here in the fall race. He led 57 laps. This is the same chassis he drove last year, but with a different body on it. Crew chief Peter Suspenso told us this morning they worked till 11 p.m. Wednesday night getting this car ready to come to Atlanta. Let's go to Dick.
Jimmy Spencer has dropped back to 7th position. He had been in 2nd. His problem is that the car is so loose he can barely hang on to it. If anybody can hang on to a loose race car, it's Spencer, and he has got his work cut out for him, Mike.
Darrell, if your car's pushing, you grind up the right front tire. If it's loose like Spencer's is, what's happening to that car?
Well, the problem with it being loose is if it's pushing, you got the steering wheel and the gas pedal to keep the car under you. When it's loose, all you can do is lift out the throttle because that thing it'll do a snap around. If you saw the pre-race, just like what happened to Matt Kenseth, that's where Jimmy Spencer is right now. He's on that ragged edge.
Now there's a report perhaps of smoke from Kurt Busch's number 97 Ford. Steve?
And Mike, what we're hearing is a right front tire maybe rubbing a hose when he goes into the corners. There's a little water in the car. His water temperature is 200 degrees.
You can definitely see some smoke there.
Well,
I would be inclined to believe he rubbed up against something. Can you think that's possible?
I'd say it very well could be because he's been having to battle his way through this group.
He has.
Joe Nemechek is on the charge. That's race leader Bobby Labonte on the left, and he looks like he's stopped.
Still there and clear.
That's his crew chief, Peter Suspenso. Ed Guzzo, the car chief on that car, was with Jeff Gordon for a long time. They got a really neat team going right now.
He is so good through the middle of the corner right there. He was able to pull it down, get in the throttle, stay in the throttle. It's going to be a few feet here, I think, before he takes the lead.
No, it's going to be one more corner, and it's going to be this one right here.
And he can just drive that thing down in the corner, right around the bottom of the racetrack, picks the throttle up.
Joe.
Got that right, Joe. You the man right now, I can tell you that.
Joe Nemechek has taken the lead in Atlanta. He is the 3rd driver to lead today. NASCAR Winston Cup Racing on Fox is presented by The Home Depot, NASCAR's home improvement warehouse. And brought to you by Dodge. You can take life as it comes, or you can grab life by the horns. Dodge. By Coca-Cola, the official soft drink of NASCAR. And by Autotrader.com. With the most certified pre-owned vehicles, it's the ultimate automotive classified site. Joe Nemechek with a 1-second lead in Atlanta. Finished last season strong, but he has only one top 10 this season, and that came last week in Las Vegas.
But he's been running really good. He ran well at Daytona, Rockingham, and of course he finished pretty good at Las Vegas last week. This team, Peter Suspenso and him, I think are really starting to get on the same page.
See there on the Fox tracks, he was about a 1 2/4 Bob Labonte behind leader Joe Nemechek.
One of the guys right now that's really surprised me is our point leader, Michael Waltrip. Started up there in 6th place, Daryl and Larry. And right now, he's fallen all the way back to 32nd, and he's losing almost a second a lap to the leader. And he's gaining on him really quick, and I don't think his car's working very well.
Hey, Jeff, you know, maybe that setup that you and I were talking about that he had this morning, or we think he had, that might be his problem, huh?
I beginning to believe it is, because it's obvious right now that his teammate Dale Earnhardt Jr. made the right changes because he moved forward while Michael's making a fall back. And another gentleman right now is in the top 10 in points is struggling is also Ricky Rudd. Ricky's doing pretty good here at Atlanta. He also is falling way back to 37th, and he's in danger of going a lap down here pretty quick. The leader's gaining on him. Matt?
Jeff, Ricky Rudd reporting into the Wood Brothers. The 21 car bad, loose, everywhere. He's just trying to hang on, but he is fading fast.
I believe that heat's really going to get these guys in trouble. Some of them got guessed the wrong way. This racetrack right now, they're anticipating to go off tight, but it's so loose right now, and they may not get a chance really to save that lap before they get an opportunity to work on their car.
Second place battle there. Labonte, followed by Johnson, Wallace, Stewart, and Jeff Gordon.
Boy, he has really come through the field here, Larry, the last little bit. He was kind of struggling there for a while, but Jeff has really picked it up here lately.
Yeah, I mean, he started 30th. He's up to 6th, and he's gaining on Tony Stewart for 5th place. But I've been watching the monitor here. He's about 2 to 3 tenths of a second a lap quicker than Joe Nemechek, our leader. And you know, when you look at Ricky Rudd and Michael Waltrip, just to go back on those two guys, they are within about 3 or 4 seconds of being lapped. They may be potential people that want a short pit. In other words, come in, try to get the advantage of those fresh tires and hope that the caution don't come out and burn them and make some adjustments on that car.
Well, Jeff and I were talking this morning, and we know kind of what kind of springs and stuff Michael's got in his car. We don't know for sure, but he had a lot of rear spring. In other words, the rear springs were pretty stiff in the car. That was a good thing when it was cloudy, overcast, and the track was cool. But I thought that might bite him today. We'll have to wait and see.
Here you're looking out of Ricky Rudd's car right there. You're looking at the leader, and that's not because you're running in 2nd place. It's because you just went a lap down.
And see, we're 47 laps, Larry, and already lapping really good race cars. And that's how, if you're off and you start middle of the pack and back, you can go a lap down here before you can bat an eye.
You just don't get cautions here that often to try to adjust that race car.
Multi-groove racetracks, high, low, middle, the way this track is, there's not going to be a lot of cautions. There'll be some single car wrecks, but there's not going to be a lot of multi-car wrecks.
Ryan Newman has dropped to 10th place. Dick Berger in trouble?
Yeah, there may be trouble on Ryan Newman's car in a couple of places, Mike. His water temperature is up to 240 degrees. He has radioed to his crew several times in the last several laps that he simply cannot hang on to the car. The most recent transmission, he said, he thought he had a flat. The crew right now on the wall waiting for Newman. He is going to come in and take 4 tires, and hopefully they'll be able to get this thing straightened out so he'll be fast again. He has really had his hands full. Newman, earlier this week, had a perfect week. He had led every single one of the practice sessions, fastest guy there, and every one of them started on the pole, but now he's the first guy to make a pit stop with a potential problem, flat tire.
Okay, the car's loose. Take a little tape off the grill. That's going to tighten the car up a little bit. We saw him go 2 down last week. Don't count this cat out. He adjusts that car, gets going again, he'll be back in this race before the day's over.
Well, look at this battle for 3rd place between Jimmy Johnson and the 48, Rusty Wallace in the 2. Now remember, Ricky Rudd, the 21, he's a lap down. But yeah, I have to believe, going back to Ryan Newman, that too much tape on the nose because the temperature yesterday was cooler, and he was fine out there leading the race. But the fact now that he's back in traffic, he's in trouble.
Not just Newman. Todd Bodine's made a pit stop. So is Jamie McMurray and Brett Bodine as Joe Nemechek leads in Atlanta. Leaders continue to make pit stops here. Steve Burns.
Joe Nemechek getting 4 tires and gas. Mike Joy, Jeff Fabian, Adam Davis, the tire changers. No adjustments to the 25 car. The jack man is David Cox. Tire carriers Dwayne Trammell and Kevin Sigafus. Little trouble on the right rear for Nemechek. Slow stop for the leader, the 25. Finally get the left rear tire on, and Nemechek is away 22.3 seconds. Matt Yoakum.
Service already going on the left side of Jimmy Johnson's Chevrolet. They've already made a chassis adjustment. His car was tight and getting tighter. He dropped all the way back to 5th before pitting.
Jeff Gordon's in. Rusty Wallace, Dale Jr. in. Jeannie?
Rusty Wallace into pit, and the plan is to make no adjustments. He said the car was starting to tighten up a little bit, and they hope that the only adjustment they'll have to make, of course, is with the air pressure of the tires, leaving the track bar right where it is at and getting as much fuel as they can. He is happy with this car.
Jeff Burton missed his pit, had to back up into it, and did so. That'll be costly.
Leader's in, 18's in. Tony Stewart takes the lead.
That'll give him 5 bonus points.
Tony's doing something that's rather uncharacteristic of him as we watch Bobby Labonte get into his pit box.
Jeannie?
Bobby Labonte complaining of just a little bit of a push, but so far so good. Plan here is to get tires and raise that track bar a little bit, and again, as much fuel as he can handle.
Ricky Rudd, Kenny Schrader, Steve Park on pit road, and here comes the leader, Tony Stewart.
I was going to say about Stewart, Mike, he's been right up against the wall, outside wall, which is unusual for him. He usually likes to hook that bottom, and I bet he will before the day's over. Let's watch his pit stop.
Mike Lingerfeld is wearing our Fox crew cam today. Matt?
And Mike goes to work on the front. They're going to make a chassis adjustment. You see Jeff Gooch Patterson cranking some wedge. Stewart just loose, especially in the center of the corner, Darrell. That's why you saw him change his line from the bottom, which is where he typically runs, to go to the high side. Service complete.
13.7 seconds. That's phenomenal.
Matt couldn't even tell us what was going on. He did it so quick.
Great stop for Stewart. Let's go back and look at Mike Skinner.
No, don't make me go there.
Just hoping he'll make it back around with that left rear. That means there's probably only 1 or 2 lugs tight, if they're even tight on that. And here comes Matt Kenseth in the 17 car. Let's watch this pit stop right here. These guys, they make it happen every week on pit road. He had inherited lead, got his 5 bonus points. Right side tires in less than 6 seconds on just the right side. Dumping that fuel in there, making sure it's full of fuel. Left side goes up. They're down and away, no surprise. 13.8 seconds. They do it every pit stop.
Larry, it's such a beautiful thing. If you want, it's so orchestrated. The tire changers, the tires go on, the wheels get tight. They jump up at the same time. The 2 tire changers do. They're around the race car in harmony.
There's no wasted moves.
None.
Nobody.
It's the most orchestrated looking pit stops I have ever seen.
After pit stops, Jeff Gordon is the new leader. 2 seconds up on Bobby Labonte. 2.8 on Ryan Newman. Now, Newman pitted early, but now everybody has cycled back around. Dick Berggren?
Yep, and here's why Ryan Newman pitted early. 2 weeks in a row, trash in the nose of his race car. This is the plastic that they have on the windshields of the cars, and for some reason or other, lately, they seem to be having problems with this stuff sticking to the windshield. Tears off, if it gets stuck in the grill, oh boy, water temperature goes right up.
What happens on race morning, the crews will show up here, and they'll add a layer or 2 of plastic to the windshield on race morning, and they do that with water, and then they squeegee all the water out. Doesn't have time to dry. That first layer sometime will blow off in the race.
And just one more time, by pulling it off, they could have, even though they made chassis adjustments, they could have fixed both their problems, the water temperature, and because they had the nose nailed and could tighten the car up. Remember, he was loose.
We mentioned what happened to Jeff Burton. Let's show it to you as he attempted to get into his pit. Now,
right here he is.
Yep, Burton, right down there at the bottom of your screen. They finish the stop. They drop the jack. He starts to pull away. Whoa, whoa, whoa!
It's got to not have a lug. You got to have lugs loose.
Boy, Kevin Harvick in the 29 almost backed right into him.
Yeah.
And Dave Blaney almost ran over him. Almost a chain reaction there. But
tire changer got up on the 99, said I didn't get them all tight, and he had to back up.
Steve Burns.
Mike Dale Earnhardt Jr. is having intermittent radio problems. The drivers will key a button on the steering wheel. That's how they open their mic to talk to the team. But he must have a loose connection because at times they cannot hear him, and then Dale will jiggle it enough or get the connection better to be able to, they can hear him. But it is a problem that he's had ongoing off and on during this race. To Matt.
Steve, Dave Blaney will tell you his biggest heartbreak in Winston Cup racing came right here. Led 70 laps in 2001, had the dominant race car. Then a miscue on pit road ended his chances for his first career win. He started today 27th all the way up to 10th now, and that's where he's been riding. His car was extremely loose in that first run. They were going to make a track bar adjustment, but then the car started to slowly tighten up. Still a tick loose, so they decided to just go with an air pressure adjustment in the right rear.
Jeff Hammond.
Guys, when I was watching that replay on Jeff Burton's pit stop, somebody miscued totally, because when he backed up, they actually changed the left rear tire on that car. So somebody had a bad pit stop on the right side or a miscue that made him have to back up and fix that problem.
Yeah, and I mean, Jeff, it's cost him a ton because he's a lap down now in 33rd position.
Let's have a look at the pit stop summary. Joe Nemechek came in as the leader, came out 9th with that 22-second stop. Bobby Labonte held on to 2nd. Jeff Gordon, the big gainer, from 4th to 1st. New to Winston Cup this season, the McDonald's drive-through challenge, powered by Powerade. All pit stops are timed, and the crew with the shortest time on pit road each week wins $20,000, $200,000 to the team that wins the season-long championship.
I mean, that's so phenomenal that they're acknowledging these guys that are making it happen, along with a lot of other people and the driver making it happen on pit road. It's great that they can compete for that kind of money now through McDonald's.
Bobby Labonte has caught Jeff Gordon, the leader. Jimmy Johnson is just 1 second back. Tony Stewart 2.5 back, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. 3.8 seconds off the lead. Those are your top 5 after 68 laps in Atlanta. NASCAR Winston Cup Racing on Fox, presented by Home Depot, is brought to you by Ford, the official truck of NASCAR, and by Aaron's Sales and Lease Ownership. Let Aaron's drive your dreams home today.
To Atlanta, we've had 5 leaders, 5 lead changes. Moments ago on lap 69, Bobby Labonte, who had led 18 laps earlier, passed Jeff Gordon, who had held the lead for 9 laps. And you're getting a look at your leader, Bobby Labonte, a former winner here. As we take you back a little bit earlier into the race, Dale Earnhardt Jr. starting 37th, needed a provisional to start. Jeff Hammond, Little League, with some radio problems. Radio wasn't working.
Yeah, Chris, and you cannot leave pit road unless you have communication with your spotter and your pits. It's one of the NASCAR safety regulations. Little League made a quick march from the back. And right now he's up there in 5th place, and he's running really good so far.
And you see Ryan Newman, who had led a little bit earlier in the race. Jeff Gordon here with John Andretti and Steve Park. A little bit of problems, but he kind of escaped from this slightly.
Yeah, they were almost got together, but he's got a really strong race car. Marched from 25th all the way up to lead this race. And he's got another one of those cars that's been very surprising early on, but he's really strong.
And again, it's Labonte leading Jeff Gordon. So Chevys have the top 5 spots currently, even though Ford has won 2 of the first 3 races so far this year.
Well, we've been talking about it off and on all year long, that sooner or later maybe these guys would get on track. It looks like today maybe they've got it going their way.
And today's aerial coverage provided by Budweiser. Let's go back upstairs, rejoin Mike Joy, Darrell Waltrip, and Larry McReynolds.
Bobby Labonte's lead 1.3 seconds over Jeff Gordon. His teammate another 1.3 seconds back.
I don't know, though, Larry. I would disagree with I don't mean disagree, but I think the verdict's still out. Last week at Vegas, we saw at one time there were 6 Chevrolets running 1st through 6. But at the end of the day, when everybody put their cards on the table, it didn't quite turn out that way.
Yeah, I mean, a Ford won the race, and we documented several times it appeared the best race car in the field was Ryan Newman, who made those 2 laps up. And it's a good thing it wasn't a UAW Daimler Chrysler 415, because I think he'd have won that race.
Well, and the thing about it is, I mean, you can adjust these cars. I think it's easier to adjust a good race car like early and middle of the race. Maybe the Chevrolet teams are having a little easier time of it. But I think when you get the Ford and the Dodge right, and the Pontiac too, they're going to be up there in contention.
24 cars on the lead lap in this long run of green flag racing. We've already had 1 set of green flag pit stops.
And what I mean by that, Mike, is an aerodynamically balanced car is easy to work on. The driver's happy, you make a little adjustments. One, it may be off a little bit, you got to make radical adjustments. And it may take the driver a little bit longer to decide what he needs to get his car as good as everybody else's.
We were questioning what might have happened to Jeff Burton on that double clutch pit stop. Matt?
Well, Mike, we have found the answer to the question why Jeff Burton now is having to run all the way back in 32nd. Darrell, when you were a driver, what was the signal for you to go when service was complete?
They dropped the jack.
And that's exactly what they did here in the 99 pit. Now, what happened was Sean Allen was watching the front changer, Jason Myers. When he was done, he assumed Richard Boyles was done in the back. But what happened? 2 lugs hung on the left rear wheel. So basically, he was trying to get the wheel off. He had to hit the gun again, and then that's when the jack dropped because the jackman thought service was complete. He was timing when to release the jack off the front changer, and it was very costly for Burton.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you always said. Who's at fault? Well, the jackman is. If you don't want me to go, don't drop the jack. Don't drop the jack and then say, whoa, 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 because I can't tell if you're saying whoa or go.
Dale Jr., meanwhile, has caught Tony Stewart. This is for 4th place. Steve?
And Mike, as well as he's running, he's still telling his crew that his car is just a little bit tight. On the last pit stop, they took a ½ pound out of the right front tire. They'll make a similar change on the next stop.
And you know, I think, Steve, the reason they're making very small changes, a ½ pound of air, that equals about 10 pounds of spring rate. But I think the reason they're so gun shy is I talked to Tony Eury Jr. when we got here this week, and he said we got bit at Las Vegas by making too big of changes. Matt Yoakum.
Well, and Tony Stewart on the outside reporting into his team. The car is just still too free. But he says we'll see what happened on down the road. You're already looking ahead to later in the race. They're already calling for a track bar adjustment on the next stop. Tony says the entrance to the corner is tighter. That's good, but they still need to work on the center.
Just remember, guys, you're going so fast here. A driver has a very little time to focus on what he needs done to the car. He can tell you it's loose. He can tell you it's pushing. But please don't make me go into detail about what you think you want to do or what you want me to do. Just fix it.
There is so little straightaway here. Right where Junior and right where Tony Stewart is now. And that's the end of the straightaway. That's the only chance you have where that car is pointed in one direction at a time. Now for the Cingular Wireless virtual crew chief question of the day. You can vote by sending the text message Fox to phone number 191 or visit foxsports.com to vote online and stay tuned for the results. Will the Chevys win today?
And Mike, again, what you want is a car here particularly that will drive into the corner under control, where I know I've got control of the car. If I'm a little loose in the middle or a little tight in the middle, a little loose off or whatever, I can deal with that. I got the gas pedal and the steering wheel. But don't make me enter this corner at 190 mile an hour turning to the right. I can't do it.
You know, Mike, you talk about no time to really think about what your car is doing or time to even relay what it is. I mean, we're the only sport that exists. There's not an inning change. There's not a quarter change. There's no timeout. These guys have been racing for an hour over 125 miles nonstop at these speeds. I mean, there's no time for anything.
I think the closest thing in major sports to stock car racing is soccer. No planned timeouts, but they're not traveling at 190 miles an hour on the soccer field. Here are your biggest movers today. Dale Earnhardt Jr. from 37th to 3rd. Tops that list. Now the drivers, since we've cycled through pit stops, that have fell back the furthest, led by our NASCAR top 10 leader, Michael Waltrip.
And John Andretti, he's fallen back that far because he just made another pit stop under green for 4 more tires. Must have had a problem on that car.
Yeah, Mongo, he could eat Michael's car up today because it's dog meat.
Dick Berggren?
Well, that old Mongo car isn't running as well as Jimmy Spencer would like. Actually, he has just called his pit area and said he has a vibration. He thinks it's either a tire or it's a brake rotor. Spencer has run in the top 10 all day. I talked to both he and his crew chief, Tommy Baldwin, this morning, and both of them thought that they had a shot to win this race today. It has been so long since Jimmy Spencer has won a race, 275 events ago. Last year, almost won at Bristol. Kurt Busch knocked him out of the win in the spring. Running up front in Richmond. Tangled with Jimmy Johnson, lost that one. 2 heartbreakers he maybe should have won, and now he's got a vibration while running in the top 10.
Dick, when you're out there running 190 miles an hour and they say pit next time by, your brakes are ice cold. When you come down to the end of pit lane and try to bring that thing on pit lane as hot as you can, sometimes you can warp a rotor or you can get buildup from the brake pad on the rotor. And when you go back out, you've picked up a vibration and you don't know if it's the tires or the brakes. 99 times out of 100, it's the brakes.
Bobby Labonte with a 4.5 second lead. You see that inside the oval on our Fox graphic, and have a look down there at the bottom line as you plan your day. Bobby at 27 approximate laps to his next pit stop. Green flag so far here in Atlanta. 88 laps complete. Bobby Labonte, one of 5 leaders today. Welcome back to Atlanta, the Bass Pro Shops MBNA 500, 500 miles. Bobby Labonte trying for his 6th victory in Atlanta. 4 wins on this configuration and 1 victory on the old 1.522 mile oval, where he started from the pole here in 1996.
And Bass Pro Shops, Johnny Morris and his crowd, and MBNA, Dave Algina and their crowd, they're the sponsors of this race. Man, did they have a great concert last night. John Anderson, Tequila Nights.
It was
swinging, Seminole Winds.
That's a fun show.
And some good food.
Man, and the food was pretty good too.
Where do you see the trophy for this race?
Uh-oh.
It's a huge bass, and the mouth on that thing is bigger than all 9 of us put together.
Looked like it took about 5 people to put it in the media center. You know, a guy that started back in 27th, and this guy has always ran well here, and that's Dave Blaney in the 77 car. And you just have to believe with Booty Barker, his crew chief, adding his touch now. I mean, these guys are steady. They've been working their way in the top 10, and he's right there on the back of Ryan Newman right now in the 12 car. That's a battle for 8th. Matt Yoakum.
And that Booty touch, Larry Mack, was an air pressure adjustment on that last stop. It is helping Dave's race car. He says the car now is really good in 3 and 4, but not very stable in 1 and 2. And Booty asked him where. On entry, center, off. He said everywhere in 1 and 2. Although the car is not as bad as it was before, it is still loose, but it's coming around. To Dick Berggren.
Well, Jimmy Spencer had the 1 in 100. It was a tire that was the source of his vibration. The tire wasn't, the wheel, I should say, wasn't attached firmly enough to the car. Just a little bit of a wiggle to it. And just before he pitted, Spencer called it. He said he was pretty sure it was on the right side. They did change all 4, so his car should be fine for the rest of the day.
Tough break for Spence. He's now 2 laps down. Let's go back to Blaney for a second. Darrell, he said the car was good at one end, not so good at the other. Now, as a driver, can you live with that kind of compromise?
Well, I mean, you can, hold your own in one end. If you can just kind of fake it through one end and make up all the time on the other end, that's not a bad thing, and maybe they'll get it better for you. But the track is so different on both ends. I mean, you come through this tri-oval here, and you head off into turn 1. You take a really, really high entry into the corner. Kind of let the back end hang out almost, if you will, as you go into the corner. Sometimes you'll try to run down that banking to get a little speed or get a little comfort. Sometimes you stay right up against the wall. Let's see how well Bobby's up beside of somebody here.
His brother.
Yeah, and see how high. I mean, normally you would like to enter that corner with the wheels down on the left wheels down on that white line, but I noticed today everybody is really arcing it. High entry into the corner, carrying a lot of speed.
And some drivers, like Tony Stewart on this lap, stay right up against the wall all the way around 1 and 2.
But you can see there's Bobby Labonte enters high. He's got a high line. I see him cut down through the middle of the turn. That gives you some speed, gives you a little momentum. It's like a crossover move without anybody there.
And it's almost like we're definitely, as you mentioned, seeing these cars run higher in 1 and 2 than probably ever have before. Normally you run a little lower in 1 and 2, the higher groove in 3 and 4.
Big hump going down into turn 1. Really upsets the car. If you go in high, you go above most of it, it doesn't bother you so much.
Let's watch his teammate, Darrell, Tony Stewart, the defending Winston Cup champ. He's been on the high line right against the wall almost all the way around the racetrack when he's not in traffic.
That tells you there's something about that car. It's either a little too loose or a little too tight. He's got to use that real, he wants to turn that wheel as little as possible. So the higher you run, the bigger arc you make, the less you have to turn the wheel. I guarantee you when he gets the car to his liking, he'll be back around the bottom if at all possible.
And we're at lap 101. We're starting to see some of the cars that has went another lap down. They're starting a short pit. Again, your hole just gets deeper, but you're trying to get advantage of those fresh tires and hope a caution doesn't come out. And trust me, there's one guy out there that he don't want a caution, and that's Jimmy Spencer. We heard Dick Berggren talking about. He needs this thing to cycle through these green flag stops.
And the other thing is, Larry, it's back to what I was talking about, the spotter. The spotter will tell you, say, hey, look, the guys that are really running fast and leading this race, they're up against that outside wall. You're going to have to get up there whether you like it or not.
Joe Nemechek led this race earlier. Now he's in 7th place. Steve?
And Mike, remember, they had a slow stop. He came in with the lead on lap 57 and went back out in 10th, battled his way back up into 7th. Now he's battling the race car a little bit, telling crew chief Peter Suspenzo that the right front has gone away pretty fast.
You can see up at the top of our screen there, we're coming close on to pit stops within the next 10 or so laps.
Darrell, once that right front tire goes away, the only thing that's going to fix that is 4 more tires and a trip to pit road.
And they're worried to death that it's going to have a problem, too.
NASCAR Winston Cup Racing on Fox is presented by the Home Depot, NASCAR's home improvement warehouse. 108 laps. You ride with Tony Stewart. He is fourth, 6.4 seconds behind the leader, his teammate Bobby Labonte. Now we're early in the cycle of pit stops, and our pole sitter Ryan Newman, who got off sequence very early in this race, has just made his second stop. We've been green so far, but it sounds like he's getting deep into the luck bank.
Yeah, well, you only got so much. You can only do that so many times. So, yeah, he's got it. He keeps making it harder. Like Larry said, you keep getting further behind.
Well, he's okay if we cycle completely through green flag stops, Dick Berggren.
Well, Ryan Newman hasn't been happy with his chassis almost from the green flag here this afternoon, Mike. His most recent concerns, the car was tight in, loose off. They adjusted the track bar. They also put a couple of rounds of wedge in it to try and fix both of those problems.
Bobby Labonte about to put last week's fastest Ford in the early stages, Kurt Busch, one lap down.
And Kurt's in 13th position, so that means we only have 12 cars on the lead lap. But Darrell, that's a product of green flag runs here. Those fast cars will just pick them up and lay them down.
When your car is off and the other, you know, you get anybody that's car is pretty good, they just put you in jeopardy of going a lap down so early, and then you're in a hole you can't dig out of.
The fastest Atlanta race ever. 1995, Dale Earnhardt won a race that had only 2 quick cautions at 163.6 miles an hour. The average speed today so far, 172.
172 mile an hour average. So far. That's incredible.
Jeff Gordon in second place, 4 seconds from the race leader. Dale Earnhardt Jr. 6 seconds off the lead in third. Tony Stewart right with him.
You got to be impressed with Dale Jr. though, buddy. He's up there in third place, and it didn't take him long to get there.
But now he's got a lot of company in his mirror.
But he knew what he had to do. You know, he started way back. He knew he had to get up there in a hurry, so he did his job. Hello.
When he's looking in low.
He's looking. He's looking.
Side.
This is going down the backstretch. Look at the speedometer up there. 175 miles an hour, almost 180 turning off into turn 3, and that's the short straightaway.
Well, and they're racing each other too. You know, it's probably a little faster than that if he was by himself. I guarantee he heads off into turn 1 down here, he'll be up close to 185, 187.
Ricky Craven in the 32 car, who was one of the lead lap cars, he's on pit road along with Jamie McMurray, Johnny Benson, Sterling Marlin, and Kyle Petty.
I mean, Larry, we're this far into the race, averaging 172 miles an hour, and we've already had pit stops. So these cars are flying today.
Ward Burton comes in along with Jeff Green. Second round of green flag pit stops. We have not had a yellow today. Jeff Burton is in.
There's never been a caution-free race here.
And Rusty Wallace, 5th place car, comes onto pit road. Jeannie's waiting on him.
And last pit stop for Rusty Wallace did not go as he had planned. He was talking about it for laps afterwards. So this time, crew chief Bill Wilburn went around and gave every crew member a high five, trying to get them focused. The plan here, 1 bound up in every tire but the right rear, and then 1 round of wedge out, and of course, as fast as possible.
Yeah, Jeannie, he ran 57 laps, which is the same amount of laps as his teammate Ryan Newman ran. But remember, we talked about Ryan Newman had been pitting earlier than his teammate Rusty Wallace.
And Larry, I talked to Rusty yesterday, and I said, Russell, your car was so good at Rockingham. I said, what happened? He said, well, it was so good we didn't do it. We were afraid to do anything to it. I said, listen to me. Everybody up there, everybody up and down pit road, they're constantly tightening up, tightening up. The track gets looser the longer you run. I said, you need to consider that today in the race.
Dave Blaney, the 77 car, he was in the top 10. He comes to pit road for his 4 tires, along with Jerry Nadeau, Dale Jarrett, Casey Mears, Michael Waltrip, Kenny Wallace. All these regular pit stops, and all of them will be for 4 tires, and on most of them, major adjustments.
And oh, by the way, could I have a little something to drink? I'm getting hot in here. The mule's getting a little tired.
I got to get these adjustments first. We'll get you something to drink here on the next stop.
Little extra time on the left rear for Dave Blaney, and the Jasper Ford heads back out. Dale Jr. off the gas and headed for pit lane, along with Bill Elliott and Terry Labonte.
And you see, Terry did a really smart thing. He saw Junior behind him. He's in his first pit there. Terry got out of the way as quickly as possible to give Junior the whole pit road to work with.
Jimmy Johnson's in as well. Here's Steve.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. saying his car's still a little bit tight. They'll take a half a pound of air out of that right front tire and a half a round of bite in the 8 car. Left side tires going on. And service complete for Dale Earnhardt Jr.
And what they're trying to do, Steve, is counter those adjustments. There you see Jimmy Johnson in the 48 car. He took the half a pound of air out of the right front to help the thing to turn, but for fear that may make it loose in, he's put that little bit of bite in, a little bit of wedge in it to tighten it up getting in.
Kurt Busch is in, so is Gordon. Steve?
Jeff Gordon likes this race car. He said it's handling very well. He's just a little bit tight from the center off. Jeff Cook, the jack man, Tim Craven, the gas man. Gordon is away.
Elliott Sadler comes in, and here's the race leader, Bobby Labonte.
And his teammate, Tony Stewart, not too far back there running second. So the Gibbs cars are doing what they've done here time and time again, running up front.
And Bobby Labonte into the pit stall. More importantly, team manager Jimmy Makar watching from on high. No adjustments, no changes planned for this stop, just 4 tires and fuel. And should be noted, guys, Jimmy Makar putting more miles than Dick Bergman on pit road. Back and forth. Speaking of Dick.
Elliott Sadler is in for his pit stop. They're adjusting the car, and Sadler has adjusted his line. The car has not handled almost at the very beginning of the race in every lap since. To Matt.
And Tony Stewart hit pit road. He was the leader. Stewart says the car is still a little tick-free on entry. He said it's still a little tick-free on exit, but it's even freer as the crew cam of Mike Lingerfeld goes to work on that right front. You can see they're going to make a track bar adjustment as they get ready for the second can of gas to go in. They're also going to make an air pressure adjustment just to try to tighten up this Home Depot Chevrolet. And he's good to go.
Other late lap cars that made it to pit road, Matt Kenseth in the 17 car right here, 4 tires, full of fuel, few adjustments. Also Steve Park, as well as Mark Martin, who had worked his way into the top 10 after starting back in 29th. He's just kind of been steady, working his way forward all day.
Cycles Jimmy Spencer back up into the top 5 as this round of green flag pit stops finishes up. There's Spencer with Nadeau and the 99 of Jeff Burton. And Dale Jarrett in the picture, but a lap down.
What you hope for right now is just this thing cycles all the way through and nobody stays out and the caution flies and gets you in trouble.
But I'm going to tell you somebody that's wanting a caution to fly. We just had talked about him, Mark Martin in the 6 car. He's just in front of who I think is going to be leading this race when it's all said and done. That would be back to Bobby Labonte in 18 car.
Mark Martin, Bobby Labonte there with Elliott Sadler. Meanwhile, Kyle Petty has taken his Dodge to the garage, and that would end the longest current streak of consecutive races running at the finish. Kyle's been running at the end of 38 straight races. The current active record, and he's in the garage. Tough break.
He might get it fixed.
Let's hope so. Bobby Labonte out front at Atlanta Motor Speedway. NASCAR Winston Cup Racing on Fox, presented by Home Depot, is brought to you by Visa, proud sponsor of NASCAR. By Singular Wireless, national coverage, affordable calling plans, and a really fast car. By Pontiac, fuel for the soul. And by McDonald's.
Welcome back live to Atlanta. The Bass Pro Shops MB&A 500, and Bobby Labonte, who's along with his brother Terry, he's in the Texas Sports Hall of Fame. Also, the two have a park named in their honor. Right now, he hopes to win his, if he would hang on, his 6th race here in Atlanta. He's won 5 times before. And Joe Gibbs Racing has actually won 6 of 13 races held in Atlanta. Chris Myers with Jeff Hammond, Jeff Gordon, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. following. This is a Visa race break, and so far without any cautions. We've talked about being fast on the track, Jeff. Also fast in the pits. Let's take a look at some of the earlier pit stops with some of the crews and drivers, some good, some bad, some that have cost different crews in this race, starting off with Jeff Burton in the 99 car.
Yeah, you see right here, Jeff Burton had to back up. A miscue, had him back up, put the left rear tire on. You can see on the 4 car, Mike Skinner, they didn't get it tight there. And later then, Joe Nemechek had a very slow pit stop, pushed him way back in the field.
Down the good.
Down the good. You sitting here looking at Matt Kenseth, last week's winner, defending champion Tony Stewart. These guys performing along with Jeff Gordon. They're just ripping off great pit stop after great pit stop, but I was keeping these guys up toward the front.
And actually, Bobby Labonte's crew had a 13.6 pit stop as well. This has been a Visa race break. So far, 8 different lead changes. Last year in this race, we had 34 lead changes, and we're through 131 laps. Labonte hanging on to the lead. Let's go back upstairs.
Bobby Labonte out front by 3.6 seconds over Jeff Gordon. Dale Earnhardt Jr. 5.4 off the lead. Tony Stewart, Jimmy Johnson.
You know, Larry, if I was going to be in trouble here, if I was going to be slow here, if I had a problem here, I always prayed to God let it be too tight.
Yeah.
Please don't bet it be too loose.
No,
I can't handle that.
If you're loose getting in the corner here, we talked earlier, entering these corners at almost 200 miles an hour, you can forget that whole corner, then it kills the whole next straightaway.
And you just can't keep up with it. If you're loose in and loose all the time, it just wears you out physically.
Bobby Labonte actually just put Ricky Craven down a lap in the 32 car, and that was the 14th place car. So we have 13 cars on the lead lap. Elliott Sadler would be the next victim for Bobby Labonte.
Those lead lap cars include 3 Dodges and 4 Fords and 6 Chevrolets.
There you see on our Fox tracks, Jeff Gordon about 3 3/4 seconds behind our leader, Bobby Labonte.
Got Chevrolet in the top 5 right now. All the first 5 cars are all in Chevrolets. We saw this last week and in about the middle of the race, but it seemed to sort itself out before the day was over with. You got to remember something, Mike, Larry. You know this. Chevrolet's got a lot of good race teams. I mean, they've got teams that are supposed to run up front. So it's not any surprise. It's not just the Chevrolet car. It's the Chevrolet teams.
And the owner of one of those multi-car Chevy teams absent from the race here in Atlanta today.
Yeah, Richard Childress, his mom, Virginia Hodge, passed away last night. She was 79 years old, been battling a brief illness. Richard Childress left the racetrack this morning, and we certainly, our prayers and thoughts will be with the entire Richard Childress family and friends.
Trouble over here. The number 6 blew up again.
Caution is out, and I'm going to tell you, Mark Martin just had drove away from Bobby Labonte. There you heard him say it.
2 weeks in a row. Here comes
Elliott Sadler to 38. He'll get back on the lead lap. Ricky Craven, Kurt Busch, Jeremy Mayfield will not.
Doesn't look like much moisture down out on the speedway. NASCAR taking no chances, putting the first caution flag out of the day. It comes out at lap 135 for Mark Martin.
Last year, Mark had one of those dream years where he had a really good chance to win the championship. Ran well every weekend, but boy, this year he's kind of off to that 2001 start where he just never was in the hunt.
And again, Darrell, we showed just a few laps ago where he was right in front of leader Bobby Labonte. He had drove away about 2 seconds in front of him.
The caution hurt Ricky Craven and Kurt Busch. It was a break for our pole sitter Ryan Newman, who was off sequence in the pit stops, and the caution comes out when he is back caught up, having made the same number of pit stops as the rest of the leaders. So the field is frozen with 12 cars on the lead lap.
Now this is, you know, for some guys that are just a lap down, this is good news. They can come in now, they can work on their cars, they can make some adjustments, try to get the car where they can keep up with Bobby Labonte and get back on the lead lap.
And they can breathe for a little bit.
Man, can you believe this? We've gone 135 laps of hammer down racing, buddy, and it'll wear you out.
Now we only see 12 cars on pit road because remember, the first time by, only lead lap cars can pit 45 miles an hour down pit road. Steve Burns.
Larry Mack, Jeff Gordon says he likes this race car. Again, Shane Church and Dave Smith are the tire changers. No adjustments to the 24 car. Dale Earnhardt Jr. also in. He says he feels like the right rear is going away. Let's go to Jeannie.
And Bobby Labonte saying the car feels really good right now. Let's just work on some tire pressure adjustments as we make this stop. 4 tires of fuel, Matt.
Tony Stewart running in second says his car was getting tighter on the bottom. He said there was an odd feel. He needed 20 more laps to try to dissect it. So they went a little more of what they did in the last stop, air pressure. Today.
This caution was also a huge break for Jimmy Spencer. He had to make an unscheduled pit stop due to a right rear wheel that was vibrating on him. He went from 33rd after that pit stop all the way up to 7th. And just a few moments ago, he came on the radio and told his crew the vibration is gone and Mongo is still barking. Mongo is the name of the dog on the hood of the car, named yesterday by Darrell Waltrip.
Give that dog a bone.
In other words, Mongo like caution flag this time.
Mongo happy. Tail wagging.
If you don't know, Mongo was the character played by Alex Karras in the great comedy Blazing Saddles.
There you see our race off pit road. Man came in leading, went out leading. Bobby Labonte in the 18 car. And let's see who comes out second. They're a little far behind. Jeff Gordon in the 24. Dale Earnhardt Jr. teammate Tony Stewart and the remainder of the field.
So we get to catch our breath for the first time today. First caution flag is out here in Atlanta.
Welcome back to Atlanta at our Pepsi Cam here in the sunshine of Georgia. Shiny, happy people, as sung by REM in the background. We'll get to the Crank It Up shortly, and welcome back to Atlanta Motor Speedway. This is a Visa Race Break along with Jeff Hammond. Chris Myers here in the Hollywood Hotel, and our first caution has allowed the pole sitter, Ryan Newman, to get his lap back. And the pole sitter has won only one of the last 25 races here in Atlanta. That happened to be Bobby Labonte back in '96. He's currently our leader, but good news for Newman, who has a fast car.
He definitely has a fast car, but right now what he's got to do is try to figure out what can he do as far as keep him going back another lap down. He got a real lucky break. He short pitted. He stayed in front of the leaders. Now he's got a chance to try to work on that car some more and get himself back up the front, just like he did last week at Las Vegas.
And Darrell and Larry have talked about the wear and tear without the cautions, the speed at which we're going here. Will we see this take a toll over the next few laps or so?
If it's going to happen, it'll happen, you know, at the latter part of the race, because they've been really running hard, and sustained RPM are usually what happens to these engines. It might have been what happened to Mark Martin.
All right, we'll keep an eye on that. This has been a Visa Race Break. Let's go back upstairs, getting ready to restart. Mike?
Well, I know 12 shiny, happy people. They're the 12 drivers on the lead lap. Bobby Labonte, Jeff Gordon, Dale Jr., Tony Stewart, Rusty Wallace, Jimmy Johnson, Spencer, Nemechek, Kenseth, Newman, Blaney, and Sadler.
There you see the Fox tracks, about 60 miles an hour. That's what the pace car brings them down to the start-finish line. There's 12 happy people. How about if we make millions of people happy by doing
Shutting
what?
up. We'll shut up.
And crank it up.
Green, green, green.
Coming around to complete lap 143, Bobby Labonte, Jeff Gordon, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Tony Stewart, Jimmy Johnson. 5 Chevrolets out front. Kyle Petty returns to the race after changing a sway bar and fuel pump.
You know, I got friends at home. Stacy Harvey comes to mind. They got surround sound, like we said, got it for Christmas. Normal people, you know, and they love that Crank It Up. And he says it shakes everything off of his counters.
Put it in perspective, after restart, it's only 34,000 horsepower.
Isn't that something? 97 smoking, bud.
Uh-oh.
And remember, he'd been smoking earlier in the race, too.
And remember, his teammate had a problem a little bit ago, too.
That's a lot of smoke.
And he was up there trying to get his lap back on leader Bobby Labonte just a lap or two ago.
Well, here's the thing I can promise you. This place will suck the guts right out of a good engine.
I mean, you see his miles per hour right there. It's getting slower and slower, and they have thrown the black flag on him. He goes to the apron. The caution is out. Caution is out. See if anybody can get their lap back. It don't look like anybody's going to be close enough.
Well, I don't know. Bobby Labonte is really slowing down over.
Bill Elliott coming hard.
Half of the field's going to get their lap back.
Crash in the back straightaway off turn 2.
I think they're going to crash here trying to get back on the lead lap.
Can Elliott make it? No.
Sterling Marlin in the 40 was trying as well.
You know, it's a good thing to let people get their lap back, but you can't do it way over in the middle of 3 and 4.
Oh, boy. Brett Bodine among the cars wrecked coming off turn 2 as they ran to the caution.
And now, my friend, what is that old saying about cautions?
They breed cautions. Yes, they do. Gosh. Brett Bodine, the last single car team owner driver on the circuit, running a partial schedule this year.
Got his crew chief back, Mike Hillman, and him, and they've been they've had a good weekend so up till now.
Yeah, all the stuffing's out of that bird. All right, you'll see Kurt Busch smoking down on the apron there, but
even if he's not putting anything down, Mike, the distraction of a car smoking.
You saw Brett Bodine and Kenny Wallace in the 23 car getting together right off turn 2 onto the backstretch.
And John Andretti is going to drive right through one for the second week in a row.
Again,
yes, he is.
Yeah. The 97 is down on the apron. I gotta think, I almost gotta believe that those guys were reacting to the smoke rather than getting in something.
Let's see what Kenny Wallace's onboard camera shows. A lot of glare.
See, he saw the smoke. He's out of the throttle. He says, okay, that guy's smoking. What's happening up there? He's jacking with the throttle, and Brett got into the back of him.
And you saw Kenny drive out of the glare. Brett Bodine, the windshield was all full of glare right about where he got into Kenny Wallace. Dick Berggren.
Well, Ryan Newman had gone just far enough on that last set of tires that he decided he wanted to adjust the car. So he came in and got 4 tires. They did so. Elliott Sadler also did that, as did Jimmy Spencer. All 3 of those cars were running at the tail end of the lead lap.
Yeah, Dick Berggren, I mean, there's only 12 cars on the lead lap, and as well as those 3, Matt Kenseth, Joe Nemechek, and Dave Blaney, I think that's a great move. There's only 12 cars on the lead lap. This race has a green flag look to it. Come in there and try to make that another adjustment to make your car better.
And one thing that was getting really, really ugly over there as they went into the 3rd turn, Bobby Labonte slowed down. And then Jeff Gordon drove up to his quarter panel. The track was kind of blocked. Elliott was trying to get a lap back. A lot of guys were, but nobody was slowing down, but the track was blocked.
Now, Kenny Wallace, Darrell, did not sustain enough damage to go to the garage. He spun, but they put 4 tires on, and Kenny's back in the race, even though he's 2 laps down.
And Kurt Busch, he's in the garage area as well, which, again, we saw him on the racetrack smoking. We see about all the cars that's a lap down or better come to pit road. They definitely need some work done.
B-52s, another great Georgia band, and some of our friends under caution at 149 laps in this race. Atlanta Motor Speedway, there are the Terra condos outside turn 4, a scene from our Bud aerial coverage.
Quite a facility now, with the condos and all the improvements that have been made here over the last few years. It's a very impressive place. Got an airport right here behind the racetrack, so you can fly right in, drive over to the races.
I think the only thing that's kept this track from having sellout crowds is traffic, and they're building what looks like an 8-lane road from I-75 straight across Route 20 here to the Speedway. That should solve that.
That would fix that problem.
You bet. Steve Burns.
Mike, the caution on lap 134 was a big break for Dale Earnhardt Jr. He had gotten very loose, so they put some air pressure back in that right front tire. Then he and his spotter, Ty Norris, had a bit of a disagreement on where to run. Norris wanted him to run the bottom. Jr. said, I want to run the top. And he said, let me tell you, my daddy said, if I can touch it, I'm in charge of it. So just trust me on that. In that case, it being the steering wheel. He said, tell the 24 I'm coming. The car is good right now. Let's go to Matt.
Well, Mike, under this caution, Tony Stewart came on the radio and said to his team, what is Bobby Labonte's channel? As Jimmy Makar is already working pit road, doing some public relations with other teams, Tony wanted to inquire to his teammate. He switched over and said, Bobby, what in the world were you thinking letting those guys try to get their laps back? It created a heck of a traffic jam back here. He said, they don't do that for us. He says, okay, won't do it again. Message delivered. Jeannie Zelasco.
Well, if you can't see, it's kind of hard to drive, and that was Rusty Wallace's complaint during that last pit stop. He was feeling the time crunch in the pits all day, and he wanted NASCAR to let an extra guy go over the wall to grab the tearaway, and the official nearby said, hey, it's way too early for that, so the Jackman had to do it. Rusty still chewing on that one.
Mark Martin and Kurt Busch have both dropped out with engine problems. Both drive for Jack Roush. Jimmy Fennig is Kurt Busch's crew chief. What's going on with the motors?
I don't know what happened to Mark's, but it looks like we busted a piston or something. Probably won't know till we get back to the shop and take a look at it, but it was a rough day for the boys.
We just hope this is not like Talladega last October, where all the Hendrick motors failed and it was all the same symptom. To Jeff Hammond.
What we're talking about, Dick Berggren was saying that the guys busted a piston on the 97 car with Jimmy Fennig. Here's the piston they was referring to probably, and this is what it looks down inside the cylinder itself. More than likely, because of these high RPMs, they probably had a drop valve or something and went down and maybe tagged that piston, and sometimes that will crack it right here where you see these rings. This is where the clearance is cut for the valve to come into, and sometimes they'll crack right in here. When that happens right there, it allows the oil to come up from inside the engine up into the cylinder area. That makes the engine smoke, and that smoke goes out through the exhaust, and that's what you see coming back out through the exhaust pipes right there. And this is what we got going on here today at our Ford Cutaway engine.
You know, another thing is the weather has changed quite a bit, as we said, and jetting and timing and all those things affect the pistons in the engines because, you know, the thing could be running a little bit lean, and it could have caused the piston to get too hot and break.
And last week I did document that Mark Martin's engine failure was a crack in the rod, so you never know. It could be the same thing as Las Vegas. It could be something different that started.
So the two Roush cars joined Brett Bodine and Larry Foyt in the garage area here at Atlanta. NASCAR on Fox, presented by Home Depot, is brought to you by Budweiser. The best things in life are the things that are true. Budweiser. Let's listen in on Dale Jr.'s conversation with his crew.
Right now, I don't got much for these two fellas in front of me. Less than 24. He's good and bad. I don't see he'll get worse. Right now, pretty good. The 20's real good. I sense that he's pretty good. I'm just out driving him. From now on back, I think we got him covered.
What he means by it when he says he's out driving him is just means he's driving harder than Tony is right now. I believe that's what he's referring to.
Labonte, Gordon, Earnhardt Jr., Stewart, Johnson, Wallace, and Newman of the 12 cars on the lead lap as we restart to begin lap 155.
And a bunch of cars trying to get up there and get their lap back, including Bill Elliott in the 9, Sterling Martin in the 40 car.
Well, everybody, it's kind of like desperation for a lot of these guys. I mean, you got to do things right now. This is the closest to the leader you've been in quite some time, except when he lapped you, and you don't want that to happen again. So you want to try to get back on the lead lap if you can.
Dale Jr. on the bottom takes second, and here brings Stewart with him.
And right now, you're kind of hoping there'd be a caution. If you're lap down, you just hope it's not you. Because let me tell you, when you run this fast, this close together, you are very, very tense.
We went 135 laps caution free and then 2 quick cautions within 10 laps, both for engines in Roush Fords. Jeannie?
Well, it's time for another installment of As the Tire Turns. When last we met, Matt was telling us how Joe Gibbs' team manager Jimmy Makar was doing a little PR down pit road, making his way down the 24 into the A pit to see what happened during that last caution. The general consensus, guys, forget about it. If everybody's going to whine, we're not going to slow down anymore. No one gets a lap back.
Well, I got to tell you, that's the way if I was the car owner and I was the crew chief and my driver started slowing down on the back straightaway to let 15, 20 cars get their lap back, I'd be unhappy about that. I can see coming to the line, somebody right on your bumper, slowing down, maybe letting that guy go. But for Pete's sake, you just slapped all these guys. What do you want to give it back to them for?
Right. We'll worry about a favor when we need a favor.
Yeah.
Rusty Wallace, number 2, in 6th place, surrounded by lapped cars and Joe Nemechek right up his tailpipes.
And Ryan Newman, his teammate, as well in the 12 car. Remember, Ryan Newman, Joe Nemechek, Jimmy Spencer right behind him in the 7. Joe Nemechek, they came to pit road. Their tires are a little fresher.
Also on the lead lap.
Whoa, Spence is up under him there.
Matt Kenseth, Elliott Sadler, and Dave Blaney are the other lead lap cars.
Oh, Mongo closed his eyes then.
Field's starting to get strung out a little bit right now. See some side-by-side racing, like right there with Joe Nemechek and Sterling Marlin and Ryan Newman, but for the most part, it's starting to string out here. We've been back racing about 5 or 6 laps.
Yeah, and it doesn't take very long, Larry. I mean, the lead cars are up there running 30-50, and these guys back here a lap or two down are running 31-50. So a second difference in their lap times doesn't take long to string things out.
Johnny Benson, the 10 in the midst of that, but he is 1 lap down. The first 135 laps of this race were run under green, and that allowed all but the first 12 cars to get a lap back.
And we have
get a lap down, excuse me.
We have a 12 cars that's 1 lap down. And we talked about Kyle Petty earlier that had went to the garage to fix a fuel pump. They decided, hey, let's do a little mini test session here as well. Let's change a few things and see if we can find out why we've been so bad since we've been here.
This joint right here did that to me several times there at the end. I just said I can't drive it. We've had that problem every time we come here. Can't come and you only got so many tests. We'll just use it today for a test session.
The good thing about that, if he can go 165 more laps without falling out, that streak of consecutive races without a DNF will continue.
Well, and this is race conditions. I mean, you know, you're out there in traffic, you're out there with the racetrack the way it's going to be. Tires are right, everything's right. So if you're not very good, work on it.
1.5 seconds behind Bobby Labonte is Earnhardt Jr. and then teammates Jeff Gordon and Jimmy Johnson.
Now, what always frustrated you about that is when you couldn't fix it. You just kept working on it and kept getting it worse.
Bill Elliott in the 9 car, of course, he's the first car that's 1 lap down. He's in 13th.
You know, the all-time streak for consecutive finishes ended here in Atlanta. 1961 to 63. 84 straight races were finished by the Turtle, Herman Bean.
Herman would be riding on the apron right now. But he would finish.
That's right. Halfway.
And you know, a lot of times, I mean, he had a good car. Cale Yarborough drove his car a couple of times, and I don't know if he won it. I don't remember if he won it or not. I just remember Cale driving for him. And Cale said he had a really, really good car that was capable of winning races.
Wow.
You know, I've been watching Bobby Labonte, 18 car, and here we have a battle. This is for 9th between Jimmy Spencer in the 7, Matt Kenseth in the 17 car. Both these cars have a little fresh tires. They came to pit road. But when I look at Bobby Labonte, the 18 car, the one thing that Michael McSwain, his crew chief, told me, said, every race we've been to this year, we are showing up with a brand new race car. It's been a while since this organization was building a lot of new cars. The timing was right to do it with all the new bodies. He said, we've brought a brand new race car every week.
Larry, every time that you change crew chiefs, it costs the car owner $1 million.
Because he wants something different.
He walks in and he says, I don't know how in the world the man ever drove this car. We got to build all new cars.
Rusty Wallace coming after Tony Stewart for 5th place.
Well, you know, Rusty, if he can stay on top of what the track's doing today, he's got a fast car. He knows how to win races. He's got that experience. If he can keep the car adjusted where it doesn't get loose, he's got a shot at winning this race today.
Where he really beat Tony.
Got one smoking down the back.
Is that Bill?
Bill Elliott.
It is.
Bill Elliott, outside pole sitter, and by a wide margin, the hero of these fans in Georgia.
And I got to tell you, week in and week, it's a 500-mile race. You put that low gear in that baby here, and you run this thing without a lot of cautions, you turn 9,200, it won't make it here. It's too long of a race.
And I was surprised yesterday, and I go back to Mark Martin, who's in the garage area with an engine failure. There was cars ran a lot of laps yesterday. I mean, 60, 70 laps on top of the 325 you were scheduled to run today. There you see Bill just makes that left-hand turn to the garage area.
Just simply blew up, he said. He's moved past Buddy Baker on the all-time start list. The active drivers, Ricky Rudd leads in that category. Matt?
Well, Mike, you're exactly right. Bill came on the radio. They were talking. He said it is terminal. Tough break for the outside pole sitter.
You know, Larry, we were talking a week or two ago, and I said, you know, these things are engines, they're not motors. But I got a question for you.
Uh-oh.
If it's a engine, how come you call a motorboat a motorboat? How come you don't call it an engine boat?
An engine boat.
I mean, it's got an engine on it, doesn't it? I've never heard anybody call a boat an engine boat.
And if it doesn't, it's a sailboat or a rowboat.
But it's a motorboat, right?
Well, you know what Bill Elliott's engine is right now? A damn blowed up motor.
Steve Burns on Dale Jr. in second place.
And because Kurt Busch also has a blown motor, his crew is packing up right now, Mike Joy. That could help Dale Earnhardt Jr. because with Kurt Busch's crew gone in the garage, Jr. now has a clear shot into his pit stall for later on in the race.
You know, we always talk about how we work together, we'll help each other. There's not another sport in the world where competitors will help each other the way they do here. Bobby Labonte was a good example. Give him a lap back. But they also will take advantage of your bad luck in a heartbeat.
Oh, yes. Everybody's misfortune is somebody's misfortune. Now, Bill Elliott, his falling out of the race, I think that will benefit Tony Stewart in the same fashion because his pit stall was right behind Stewart's. Joe Nemechek trying to fight his way back up through the field at 8th place, running there with Matt Kenseth.
Well, Joe's been hanging around in that top 10. He stayed on the lead lap. And again, you know, that car, with the record that car has here, you got to keep an eye on it because he'll find its way to victory circle if you don't watch out.
Joe's trying to become the 5th different driver to win here for Hendrick Motorsports. Jeff Gordon has 3 victories. Darrell won in '89, Jerry Nadeau in 2000, and Kenny Schrader back in '91, all for the Hendricks.
I'll say hi to Rick back home. Hadn't been feeling real good. He been under the weather. Just want to say hi to him. He and Papa Joe, 2 of my best friends.
Tell you what, Joe, he's running laps about as quick as Bobby Labonte, our leader, but the fastest race car on the racetrack the last several laps has been Dale Earnhardt Jr. in that 8 car in second.
He said he had a pretty good car and he thought he could handle everybody, and he's getting ready to handle the leader here in another lap or so.
Pulled up right, looking out of his windshield right there. This is a battle between Joe Nemechek and Ryan Newman and Matt Kenseth. This is a battle for 7th.
Dale Jr.'s had a couple of shots at winning here, you know, the last couple of times we've been here. One time he had a flat tire late in the race and cost him a victory or a shot at it anyway. And another time I think he finished like 3rd or 4th. So this is a good racetrack for him, but I would have not given him a plug nickel for running good today the way his car had been all weekend.
Yeah, he has 3 straight top 10 finishes here, and this is the same chassis that he ran here last year.
Matt Kenseth running in 9th, one of 12 cars on the lead lap, and last week's winner in that Roush Ford. Look again. Part pit stops and part the savvy of that driver who went to victory lane more than any other on the circuit last year.
And I think just the determination.
Rusty just got in the wall off turn 2 over there.
Yeah, the whole side of that car is flat.
He got into it real hard down in turns 1 and 2. I'm sorry, guys, I didn't.
And he's trying to get to pit road, but he can't get to pit road. Caution is out.
No,
Caution is out.
He hurt the car, Larry. And that was something that I just got this feeling about Rusty. His car's fast. He knows how to win. He's got to keep up with the adjustments.
3rd caution of the day at lap 174 for Rusty Wallace.
Hey, how's your steering wheel? My steering wheel's turned to the left.
He's asking.
Right, we'll look at everything. Get the strings, boys. Get those poles together, okay? First thing we're gonna do is stop, get 4 tires, beat the fenders out, get a hammer for the right front guy.
The steering wheel is your indicator of how your tire, if you're bent to linkage, steering linkage. If the steering wheel's, see how that tire on the right front there is towed way out? Well, this steering wheel would be turned really hard to the left because the wheel's turned to the right. So he's telling them, okay, I got the right front towed out because my wheel is here.
And Billy Wilburn, his crew chief's making that plan. First things first. 4 tires. Let's get the fenders off the tires first. You heard him say get the poles ready. That's what they're going to check the tow out with on the 2nd pit stop.
And most importantly for Rusty, he stayed on the lead lap.
Which with only 12 cars on the lead lap could be real important.
Well, as much dust as I saw fly up there, that was all concrete, I think.
Of course, all 12 cars on the lead lap, they are to pit road for 4 tires. Adjustments, Steve Burns.
And a minor adjustment for Dale Earnhardt Jr., Larry Mack. He said, let's just go up about a 1/4 pound in the right rear. The only adjustment for Junior, also for Jeff Gordon, down a pound in the left rear, up a pound in the right rear. Jeannie Zalasko.
Working on the right fender of the 2 car right now for Bobby Watt. He's out of the pits. It's good timing for him because he said he actually wore down the tires a bit trying to hold off Bill Elliott. Got 4 fresh ones. Matt?
Service already complete for Tony Stewart. They made an air pressure adjustment, evened up the pressure on the right side. Stewart said, believe it or not, we're actually tight. Meanwhile, the 48 car, Jimmy Johnson, he was actually loose. That's what they were begging for. They made an air pressure adjustment and track bar for Johnson.
I'm going to tell you who rose to the occasion on pit road that time was Joe Nemechek in that 25 group, but I think a lot has to do with where they're pitting. They get to their pit box coming onto pit road. Their work is almost done before some of the cars even get to their pit box, and they're down there where everybody's a lap down. You get a free ride in and a free ride out, then all you have to focus on is that pit road speed leaving.
Yeah, and the air pressure thing on Stewart's car, they evened up the right sides. Normally you have a little more air in the right front than you do the right rear. But in this case, they evened them up because the car's a little tight. So they want the right side tires to be equal. That'll free the car up a little.
So we're at 175 laps complete, and this will be the 3rd caution flag of the day. Here's a look at the leaders as they come around for the restart. Still 12 cars on the lead lap. We're back under green at lap 179.
Right at 60 miles an hour when the pace car dropped them off. Start finish line, 130 miles an hour, getting up to speed in high gear. 157, 58 miles per hour off into turn 1. And the speed still building as they get up to speed.
Now Rusty Wallace finished his pit stop, but he is half a lap down to the field.
But he made 3 pit stops. It appears he has his 4 fresh tires, and they did work on that toe out to get it back corrected.
And he's still on the lead lap, so you know, assuming they got it pretty good for him, he might be all right. Looks like he hit that thing awfully hard, doesn't
he? He definitely would be somebody that would love to have a caution here quick where he can get caught back up.
Yeah, get caught back up. Plus, now he's driven it a few laps, he can give better feedback about what it needs. I can't believe, you know, as soon as the new wears off those tires, if it's not very good, he'll be back in the pits. And of course, the way I see it, there's going to be another caution here right away because these guys are all over each other. See, everybody just with these cautions, you just keep coming in, making the car better. We're coming in, changing the car around a little bit, making it better and better. Gives you an opportunity to race with people that you didn't have a chance to race with before.
I'm telling you what, talking about racing, not only did Joe Nemechek in that 25 car win the race off pit road, he's all over his teammate right now for 2nd place. Gordon's running the low line. Joe Nemechek's running about a lane up at both ends of the racetrack.
And you know the funny thing, I said, Joe, I mean, it's got to be notes, right? Setup, same setup every time. He said they've never run the same setup here twice.
There you see Joe Nemechek from 6th to 3rd on pit road. Steve Burns, what's going on with those boys?
Well, Larry Mack, you're right. They had a great pit stop, 14.06 seconds. Now, just before the caution came out, Joe said I'm a little snug, so they took a round to bite out and put a half a pound in that right rear tire.
Sounds like this old racetrack's tightening up now.
Yeah,
the front end starting to lose that grip.
Yeah, as you try to run the bottom, you want to get down into the bottom of the racetrack. It gets slick down there, and you got to get it where it'll turn.
All right, Rusty Wallace now, he's almost a half a lap down. He has 4 fresh tires. And remember, they made several pit stops during that caution to get that toe out corrected.
There, he's running a 31.7, and the leaders are at a 30.50. So he's not in real good shape.
All right, here's what these guys did after they got their 4 fresh tires. They made that pit stop, then they came back to pit road to check the toe out. They're using these sticks on each side right here. That tells them how much toe out or toe in they have. You want about a 1/16 of an inch, which would be wider at the front than at the back. The next stop they came in, and what they did is they fixed it by adjusting the tie rod. And this is what goes on. See, his right front was towed way in, just like that one. And what they did, they had to go down there, raise the hood, and loosen the tie rod. 2 little old bolts, and they had to turn it out to where it would put it back to about a 1/16 out. They rechecked it. They had to tighten those 2 bolts right there and send him on his way. And you're having to do that in a hurry because the green flag was coming out.
Jeannie, how's it working for Rusty now?
Well, not as great as he would have liked, guys. It's still towed out about a 1/4 inch. So as you can imagine at this moment, crew chief Bill Wilburn is praying for a caution.
Smoker in turn one. He may get his wish.
Straightaway going into one.
A lot of smoke from Kenny Schrader.
Clean about oil.
Caution is out. That is the break Rusty Wallace needs right there. I think he was screaming on.
Did you hear that?
Complain about oil.
Complain about it. I don't know. Just complain about it. Do something. No, the cars are down here in 3 and 4, and it happened down here in 1 and 2, and it's a complaint about oil. They ain't even there yet.
Now, nobody else was close enough to get their lap back. There you see Kenny Schrader, the 49 car, as he brings our 4th caution out.
But, Larry, when you hit the wall as hard as Rusty did, I was looking at it. You're going to bend a ball joint. You're going to bend some stuff underneath there that is going to keep that car from driving real good. They might get it better, but it's not going to be right.
This is the 4th engine to go today. 2 Fords, Mark Martin and Kurt Busch, 2 Dodges, Bill Elliott and Ken Schrader.
Too much gear, too much RPM, sustained. This joint here it just, like I said, it sucks them apart.
We haven't seen such a spate of engine failures in quite a while.
No, we haven't. I think that's maybe the guys have gotten overconfident. A lot of them ran an awful lot of practice laps. We haven't really seen a lot of failures. Things might change a little bit when we get to Darlington.
Mark Martin ran over 76 laps in that extended practice session yesterday.
If I was the engine guy, I'd be worried about that.
And we've run 9 laps since we went back racing. Looks like all the leaders will come to pit road except Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 8. He stays out. And I believe he's the only one that stays out that's on the lead lap.
Steve?
Well, Jeff Gordon said his car's too loose, Mike. He says, I'm better on the long runs. They had talked about dropping the track bar on Jeff Gordon's Chevrolet. Let's go to Jeannie.
Bobby Labonte making his way in for 4 more fresh tires. A little frustration as he was making his way into the pit. Matt?
And service complete for Tony Stewart. No adjustments.
Jimmy Spencer and that group in the 7 car, they were not in their pit box. They had to back him up, so he's pretty much going to go out dead last of the lead lap cars, other than it looks like maybe Dave Blaney.
Pretty crowded down at that end of the pit road there, Larry. All the good cars are right down there together. A little harder to get in, get out.
And again, this is a break for Rusty Wallace, because not only does he stay on the lead lap, does that overflow, a little bit of fuel overflow on the rear, but they get to restring that car and try to get a little closer.
Yeah, they got the poles out there. They're measuring that toe out, and there you see him adjusting the tie rod. Plenty of time here. That's the good thing about a 1.5 mile racetrack. You have plenty of time. Spotters telling them, I'm sure, where the pace car's at.
Dick Berggren on Rusty's teammate.
Ryan Newman went from 7th to 4th on that round of pit stops, Mike, and the way he did it, Matt Borland called for just outside tires. Changing just 2 tires gave him a quicker pit stop. They passed 3 cars right here in the pits.
Now, if you're Dale Jr., why would you not pit?
I think he's going to regret not pitting, because all those other 11 cars are going to have fresh tires right on his tail.
Only thing I can figure out is his teammates behind him maybe wanted him to get his lap back.
I mean, with only 12 cars on the lead lap, 11 cars pitting, I even question the 2 right side tires this early in the race.
I agree, Larry.
We are trolling under caution at 187 laps in the Bass Pro Shops MBNA 500 at Atlanta. NASCAR Winston Cup Racing on Fox is presented by The Home Depot, NASCAR's home improvement warehouse. And brought to you by Chevy Trucks, the most dependable, longest-lasting trucks on the road. By Radio Shack, you've got questions, we've got answers. And by Coca-Cola, the official soft drink of NASCAR. We just restarted half a lap ago. Following the 4th caution flag of the day, they're going to come around and complete lap 190. Dale Earnhardt Jr. out in front of pole sitter Ryan Newman. Joe Nemechek, Bobby Labonte, Jeff Gordon, the top 5. Tony Stewart, Jimmy Johnson, Matt Kenseth, Elliott Sadler, and Jimmy Spencer, the top 10. Plus Dave Blaney and Rusty Wallace on the lead lap.
So a lot of different agendas there, Larry. No tires, 2 tires, but they did do one thing. It got them out front, out of all this melee back here behind them, and that may have been the strategy.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Nemechek in the 25, Bobby Labonte 18. They're clogged up behind Greg Biffle in the 16, Todd Bodine and Steve Park in the 1 car, who are all a lap or 2 down.
Clog is the kindest word you could use.
Bottled up. And Nemechek gets by all of them except Greg Biffle. He's looking at Tony Stewart's car. He's in 6th position right now, the 20.
Up to second place, Ryan Newman. Let's have a look at the pit stop summary on this last caution.
There you see Ryan Newman went from 7th to 2nd. Reason he changed only 2 tires. And the reason a lot of guys lost a position, including Bobby Labonte, was, remember, Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 8 car. He stayed out. No tires. And I know, just talking to a lot of the crew chiefs, the big fear in no tires or 2 tires is if you now get that 50-something lap green flag run, you're really going to be hurting on left side tires.
When the caution flag comes out and tires are any kind of a factor.
Might be that right front.
That's Joe Nemechek.
I'm coming.
Is he in trouble? He is in trouble. Steve.
Middle of 3 and 4, be ready.
Just tighten it up and that's it.
There he is.
And we're heading down to Joe Nemechek's pits. You just heard the audio, him talking to Peter Suspenzo. Ask all the guys if they got the lug nuts tight, and he's on his way.
And they seemed like he was pretty confident it was just the right front, because that's really the only one they went to.
And then Peter said, just tighten it up. Don't try to change it. Just tighten it up.
And the problem is he has to maintain that 45 miles per hour. He's halfway down pit road, and the leaders are coming off turn 4. It's going to be tough not to go a lap down.
And he came in right at the front of the field. He was running in the top 5.
I think he'll definitely go a lap down. He's in turn 1 on the apron. Here comes the leaders into turn 1.
And you can't get up on the racetrack till you get to the back straightaway off turn 2.
And you can only run so fast on that apron. It's very slick.
Right up in front of the leaders. So
Car going to be outside.
He's pedaling hard.
Got the 12 with him and the 16.
And now he's up to race speed.
Yeah.
But can he stay in front of Earnhardt Jr.?
Okay,
I think he can, because he's got tires. Junior doesn't. So if he can sit there.
We'll be all right.
He's hoping that with all that stuff behind him, something might just possibly fly off of one of these cars.
But you're right. I bet the best thing he has going for him, remember, he has 4 tires. The leader, Dale Earnhardt Jr., has no tires.
No tires. You got him. Is that better?
When you don't get all those lugs tight,
well,
this is a game of making the fewest mistakes.
Yeah, it is. And you never want to beat yourself. I've told my guys that over and over again. It hurts when the competition beats you. It kills you when you beat yourself.
But I think if he'd look up and see him come down the front stretch, he will feel a little better right now, because Nemechek's actually pulling away from Dale Earnhardt Jr.
That's it, Darrell. He's got a loan from the luck bank.
yeah.
And it might, they might end up okay.
Yeah, he could. He's out there, and he's out front by himself, clean air. Sit there, hold his own. Something might happen.
I mean, look what happened to Ryan Newman.
Oh,
Came in early, changed tires, went through 2 complete green flag runs, off sequence of pit stops, and then a caution saved him.
As long as you've got a fast race car, you still got a chance.
And Nemechek has that. There he is out in front of leader Dale Earnhardt Jr.
And inching away, he's pulling off at about, he's 30.48. Junior's all the way up to 31.0, so he's got a little bit quicker car.
I tell you what, give a call to that car right behind Ryan Newman, Greg Biffle in the 16 car. Now, he has 4 fresh tires, but he's up there only 1 lap down. He, like Joe Nemechek, he'd love to see a caution flag right now. Maybe he can get his lap back.
And Biffle was the loneliest man in Las Vegas, missed the show. Not enough provisional points. Dick on Art Olson.
Well, Ryan Newman's troubles continue, Mike. Right now, they believe that they have a power steering problem. On the last pit stop, they took a look on pit road. There were just 2 drops of fluid there. And Newman has discussed with his crew chief, Matt Borland, whether they should take a long pit stop and top that power steering fluid off so they can make it to the end. The nose of the car has been light for much of the race. Perhaps that's the problem.
Yeah, but Newman is built like an NFL lineman. If there's one driver out there who has the physical strength to manhandle a car that's not steering, it is likely this young fella.
Yeah, and even though there's a lot of turn, you're in the turn a long time, it's not like you're being at Bristol or somewhere where you got to really yank that thing hard left. You can't nurse it a little bit.
He lists eBay as one of his hobbies. I wonder if he's been bidding on the parts from Hammond's cutaway car. That was a full car when we started the season. It's getting smaller every week.
I tell you right now, this group right here, Ryan Newman and our leader Dale Earnhardt Jr., they're running 31.40s and 50s, but no Joe Nemechek out there trying to make his lap up. He's running in 31 teens and 20s.
Matt?
Well,
Mike Dale Earnhardt Jr. is a big fan of the internet, and so are a lot of his race fans. In fact, back in January of 2002, a bunch of Junior's fans, led by Sonia Clay from California, came up with the idea, let's form a non-profit organization, a charity of sorts, to give to different racing charities. They call themselves the Dale Jr. Pit Board. And what they do, there's a finishing position, 1 through 43, that corresponds with a charity. If Junior finishes third, they have a charity for that. If he finishes 43rd, there's a charity for that. And if he wins, that's even better. Last year, they gave over $27,000 in pledges. This year, they're already up over $11,000. Big gainers this year, $2,000 for the Faison School for Autism, where Hermie Sadler's daughter Haley attends, also the Victory Junction game camp. And guess what? If Junior finishes right where he is today, it's going to go to one of his favorite charities, the Humane Society of Charlotte. That's where he got 2 of his 3 cats. His first cat came from the Humane Society in New Hampshire. His name, Buddy Love.
Here's some close company.
Now, let me tell you, we talk about cautions breed cautions. Let me show you why. If you look at the screen here, you see the one car coming down low. He's coming off of turn 4 down here. And as he comes off the corner, the car picks up a little push and right into the left rear of Mongo.
Oh, don't make Mongo mad.
Mongo had to really pull his tail in there to keep from getting it knocked off.
Mad Dog, no biscuit.
And now in real time,
wow.
it's ugly.
But now, how is that different from last week when Steve's car washed up and got into Dale Jarrett?
Well, you got more banking here. You got a little bit different situation. Last week the track was pretty flat. And, you know, coming off the corner there, you got a little bit better control than you do right in the middle of the corner like we saw last week.
And I tell you, when you come off the corner here, like off turn 4, it's like running into a funnel. You can go from 4 grooves wide down to about 1 groove wide.
This is the 3rd place battle. Bobby Labonte trying to scramble his way back to the front on a track where he has won 5 times, all for Joe Gibbs Racing. Working the pole sitter, Ryan Newman. And taking 3rd place. Labonte is one of only 3 drivers to win on both the new configuration and the old Atlanta track. The others, Dale Earnhardt and Jeff Gordon. Meanwhile, 205 laps complete, 120 to go. A couple more pit stops in the offing.
Hey, Larry, how about them no tires?
They're not doing too bad, are they?
Boy, I tell you, people like that make you feel dumb sometimes, don't they?
I'm going to learn from this experience.
Welcome back to Atlanta, where Joe Nemechek has paid off his loan at the Luck Bank.
He's a member in good standing now.
Because?
Hood's up on 12. They're going to add a little...
But remember, he had a power steering problem,
fluid,
Dick Berggren. Are they going to work on it?
They can fix it.
Well, that's what they're doing right now. They're trying to fix the power steering. What they've done is just pour some fluid into the power steering unit. Well, this is difficult, though. He's sitting here, and they were worried about whether this engine would refire because it was hot. But he has refired the engine. Hood going back down on Ryan Newman's car. He should wind up the last car on the lead lap with hopefully that power steering fixed. And maybe they really got the chassis dialed in. They've been working on that all day long.
That'll put him back to 12th place, Dick. The reason we're under caution is Jamie McMurray had a right rear tire go down, and the cloud of smoke made it look like he might have been the 3rd Dodge driver to lose an engine today. Such is not the case. They replaced the tire, and he's back out.
That's what when I looked over and he was just smoking like crazy, I said, "Uh-oh, engine failure." But
how much interest do you think we can charge at the Luck Bank?
Well, I don't know, but I know you can get overdrawn in a real quick.
That's right.
You can use it all up in one afternoon.
Tell you, we talked about Ryan Newman in the 12 car. He'll be the last car on the lead lap. Rusty Wallace, they keep getting that car better and better from the wreck he had where he hit the wall earlier.
Show you some of the lap down cars. Pit stops here were the lead lap cars as they came onto pit road. And in the triple split, Earnhardt Jr., Gordon, and Labonte.
All of these will be 4-tire stops.
Now Tony Stewart is pitted up the lane. You're going to see him come out right alongside Gordon. Here comes Gordon, top of your screen.
I tell you, Jeff's bad qualifying runs has hurt his pit selection. I think it's hurting him getting on off of pit road.
Tell you what, that was awfully close with Tony Stewart in the 20 and his teammate Bob Labonte in the green 18 car.
Matt?
Well, Mike, a 13.7-second stop for Stewart. He says the car just takes a little bit longer to come in, but once it comes in, it starts to come around. He says it's a little bit free at the beginning, but he really hated to mess with it. He didn't want to take a chance on messing up the car set. It feels like it's pretty decent. To Jeff.
Right now, what we just saw Ryan Newman come in to do, he came in and put fluid in the power steering pump. Here's the reservoir right here. They took the top off. They filled fluid up here. That's what it feeds. It feeds down these lines. Here's the power steering pump located here, driven by these belts. That's what circulates the fluid and goes into the power steering box, which gives the power assist to the driver so he can drive these cars at extremely fast speeds. And you got to have that if you really want to go fast here at Atlanta. It's really easier on the driver when the power steering pump is working properly. Steve?
Well, Jeff, Dale Earnhardt Jr. did not pit on lap 185 when most of the other leaders did, but he did stop this time on 208. Got 4 tires. They made an air pressure adjustment. He said he's just a little snug between turns 1 and 2. Let's go to Jeannie.
We'll get back there in a moment as you ride with Dale Jr. I want to mention a NASCAR great, Jim Paschal, who sustained a heart attack last Saturday. He's in the Ashboro Hospital. Want to wish him well. Here's how they came on and off.
There's our pit stop summary. Tony Stewart. Those guys went from 5th to 1st. There you see Dale Earnhardt Jr. from 1st to 4th, and now Tony Stewart with about 115 laps to go. He's out front as the pace car is off, and we're going back racing.
I'd say Tony getting out front right now could be maybe bad news for everybody else, because that's what he's done here in the past. Kind of saved a little for the last go-round here.
Sterling Marlin in the 40 car up there trying to get his lap back. Boy, those guys have really been off today. There you see on the Fox tracks on our leader Tony Stewart, 160 miles an hour. Off into one, still building 170 miles an hour off the corner, off turn 2.
You can see he only breathed the throttle just a little there in turn 2.
And you were talking about Sterling Marlin. I mean, what a difference a year makes. Last year, most consistent Dodge week in and week out. This year, just struggling.
Johnny Benson in the 10 car out there on the inside of Jeff Gordon. He's a lap down. He's up there as well as Greg Biffle in the 16 and Sterling Marlin in the 40 we talked about. These guys would love to see that caution flag get back on the lead lap here with just a little over 100 laps to go.
Darlington next Sunday. Jimmy Johnson, Dale Jr. there. And Bobby Labonte battle. Now all of this is because Tony Stewart made a excuse me, pardon me, out of my way move, rocketing out of his pit stall to get that track position.
Well, boy, I tell you, talking about trying to get track position on the racetrack, Jimmy Johnson in the 48 car, he pulled to the bottom of Dale Earnhardt Jr. the 8, but he gets bottleneck coming off turn 2 here, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. is going to get the position back. That is a battle for 3rd. Anytime you can get that race car out front, regardless of where you do it, on the racetrack or on pit road out there in that clean air, it's going to like it.
Yeah, and especially if you've got a car that's as fast as his is. It's just a whole lot. It's not, there's not anything in front of you, and that's a good feeling. You can run your own line. You can kind of do your own thing. Don't have to worry.
12 cars on the lead lap, and Dave Blaney, who was 11th before the caution, has made his way up to 6th place as he works around Greg Biffle, who's a lap down. Blaney, a near winner here for Bill Davis.
Really and true. And guys, you got to give it. That's a great run for Blaney and those guys, Booty and them, because I mean, ever since Booty's come there, he's been a contender, buddy.
We've talked about it before. Have that Penske Jasper power, just like the 12 and the 2 car. Even though this is a Ford, it's a Ford engine. Still comes out of the same shop as Rusty Wallace and Ryan Newman's.
There's another guy back there that's kind of lurking in the background. The 17 car, Matt Kenseth. He hadn't been too far out of the hunt all day either.
Climbing his way up through the field. now to 7th place. Last week's winner in Vegas. Now a little more on Blaney. The question's been raised on the internet and elsewhere whether Blaney's strong runs this season are due to the fact that last year's Penske Jasper Fords, now all those engines go to the Jasper team. The Penske team switched to Dodge. But can you believe that Dave Blaney is getting any better engines this year than what he got last year?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think these teams all have good engines. The difference in what they call a good one and a bad one is only 10 or 12 horsepower. And when you're talking about 800, that's a very small percentage. So I don't see that being the factor. I see the better team, better organized, Booty doing a good job working with Blaney. I think that's the huge difference.
Bobby Labonte is in 5th place after leading a good part of this race. He was out front for 131 laps. Here's Jeannie.
And he is a man still very much on a mission, knowing exactly what he wanted when he came into his pit stop. Asked for a round to bite out, checked on the air pressure adjustments, got him to the front tires. Now, Bobby told this team he wanted to leave Las Vegas top 15, mission accomplished. He said, by the time we leave Atlanta, I want to be top 10. So far, so good.
He is 2 seconds off the lead. Jimmy Johnson hounding Dale Jr. That's for 3rd place.
Here's the thing. If you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you can't.
Now Sterling Marlin there in the 40 is the first car 1 lap down in 13th place. He would like to stay in touch with Tony Stewart so that if a caution comes out, he might get a lap back. Steve?
And Mike, just to follow up on Larry Mack's comments about Sterling struggling in that 40 car, crew chief Lee McCall told me this morning that's a brand new race car. It's never been tested. They've been fighting it all weekend. 1 lap in practice they were loose, tight the next lap. This morning they changed 4 shocks, 4 springs, track bar, and both A-frames.
All that is, that's a product of aero imbalance. He's either not got enough on the front or he's not got enough on the rear, but the car is out of balance. And a car like that will absolutely drive the driver and the crew chief crazy. I know, that's what's wrong with me.
Tony Stewart has been caught by Jeff Gordon, and Jeff drops to the bottom. Tony's had success in the high lane, but gosh, it looks like Tony just let him go.
It's just a little early yet. Got to make another stop here, and I think Tony's just using his head right now.
Got a wave?
How about it, buddy?
Well, I mean, these two guys know, and boy, Darrell, we're driving off into turn 1. It's getting late in the afternoon. This is terrible here, that sun blinding right in your eyes.
Yeah, even though we got tear-offs on the windshield, this is one of the worst racetracks. You know, Larry, they used to have pine trees around this racetrack, especially down in turns what we used to be 3 and 4, now turn 1, to keep the sun out of your eyes.
Here they come down the front stretch right now. Look at it here, Darrell. This is what these guys see as they drive down the front stretch into turn 1.
Well, you can see what you see on the right is a whole lot different than what the drivers are. It's pretty clear over there where the tear-offs are. But a long time ago, we didn't have the luxury of having those tear-offs, and that was pretty difficult.
First time Jeff Gordon has led since lap 68. Here's Matt in Tony's pit.
Well, Mike, remember what we told you during the round of pit stops. Tony Stewart said it takes a while for his race car to come in. After, 15, 20 laps, it's just about where he wants it, but he's not going to try to hold up the 24. He's going to ride. He's going to wait for the 20 car to come to him.
Boy, his teammates' cars come to him. Here's Bobby Labonte around Dale Jr.
Just a little bit more windshield information, because that's kind of a driver deal. Do you know that the reason that they wouldn't let us run Lexan windshields? Because they thought we could cut them and trim them down and close the windshield opening or move the roof A-post around or something.
And they thought you couldn't do that with a stock safety glass windshield.
And we were taking the windshields to the glass cutter and cutting them down anyway.
And you didn't know Hammond was doing that, did you?
No, I didn't know it.
Now,
that was Junior's car.
How many did you take? How many did you get back in one piece?
Well, you had to, they gave you a case of them, so you could break a couple of them. It didn't make that much difference.
We definitely would break a couple of them. They were very, very tough to cut, wasn't they, Jeff Hammond?
Yes, they were, Larry McReynolds. And but Darrell, well, the way I remember it, I thought that you called me one night and said, I had a dream, buddy. We need to cut these windshields. I thought that you just kind of conveyed it on down the line to me.
That could have very well happened. I tell you, I've hit the wall a number of times, Jeff, and I can't really recall exactly how it happened.
Yeah, that's my story, and I'll be sticking to it. But you see what happened to Little Lee that time?
Oh, yeah.
He got awful loose off that corner right there. He almost wrecked.
That's what this racetrack will do to you. You've been up on the wheel.
Real tight, Junior.
You're getting a little tired. You've been out there all afternoon driving hard. This place here, we saw Matt Kenseth do it in practice. That back end will hop out, and buddy, let me tell you, that'll put you hard in your throat.
Now, a little more on how we got to Lexan for the windshields. When Dale Earnhardt caught that piece of drive shaft at Talladega and it knocked through the top of the windshield, Richard Childress started putting a piece of Lexan behind the legal glass windshield for protection. That was fine until one day somebody from another team pointed out to the NASCAR inspector, and they said, Richard, you're going to have to take that out. He says, if I'm going to have to take it out, so are the other 25 cars that have it. And it became the rule.
And that was real fine until the first rain delay and all the moisture got between the glass windshield and the Lexan windshield. Now what are we going to do?
So we evolve, and we now have all Lexan unbreakable plastic windshields.
With tear-offs.
And now that you know everything we know about windshields,
and
Jeff Gordon.
Do you know why we don't have windshield wipers?
This guy's tired of listening to us.
NASCAR on Fox is brought to you by UPS, official delivery company of NASCAR. We want to race the truck. People love the truck. UPS delivers a chance to win 4 tickets to the Daytona 500. Log on to foxsports.com, keyword UPS Racing, the official delivery company of NASCAR. Jeff Gordon with a half-second lead on Bobby Labonte. Jimmy Johnson has taken third from Tony Stewart. Here are the biggest movers today, led by Dale Earnhardt Jr. And Terry Labonte up 19 spots from where he started today.
He's up 20.
There's some guys back in the field here. You know, even though they're a lap down, they're still running awfully doggone good. And we haven't said a whole lot about them. I mean, you look back here at Johnny Benson's in 13th and Parks in 15th, Ricky Craven's in 16th, Bethel 17th. I mean, there's some guys, and Terry Labonte is in the top 20. He's running 20th, so guys are running pretty good back in the pack.
And all of those were cars that got caught a lap down during the first 135 laps of green flag racing that were caution-free.
Guessed wrong. That's all that is. They just guessed wrong as to how to start this race.
88 laps to go here at Atlanta Motor Speedway, which vies with its sister track in Texas for the rights to be the fastest track on the circuit.
You know, a car that started third today and he drifted back. In fact, he went a lap down at one time. His 38 car, Elliott Sadler, and now he's worked his way after getting his lap back. He's back in the top 10 in 9th position, and it looks like that car's been getting better as the days went on.
It has, and you know, he kept talking about they came here and tested, and all they worked on was race runs, race runs, race runs. He was looking forward to the race today. Just got off a little slow there, but ever since the beginning, he got called back up. He's been pretty good.
And it surprised me a little, Darrell, because Elliott's not been the best qualifier, but he came here and qualified third for this race. Now,
and you know why? He said that the race setup, they tried to qualify and said it wasn't very good, put the race setup back in it, and the car actually was pretty fast.
Now, we're not going to talk about Lexan, but we're going to talk about windshields. NASCAR has finally given the race teams that extra man, an eighth man to go across the wall to clean the windshield or to pull the tear-off off. And I think this is a little late. You know, normally they would do it about halfway.
I guarantee you the guys were complaining, but what NASCAR does is they want to keep as many people off the pit lane as they can. That's another body over the wall. So I kind of know where they're coming from. But as a driver, I would be raising Cain a long time ago about getting somebody in there to help me.
let's show you the 1 second lead that Jeff Gordon enjoys over Bobby Labonte.
You see the Fox tracks just a little over second lead. He's losing a little bit of time.
And it's 1.5 seconds from Bobby Labonte back to third place. Jimmy Johnson, the top 5 all in Chevys. And there's a look at Jimmy, who is 2.9 seconds off the lead. Then Tony Stewart is another 1.7 seconds back. And 0.8 of a second behind him, Dale Earnhardt Jr. On the same straightaway is Dave Blaney and Matt Kenseth, nose to tail. They are 6th and 7th, and the first Fords in the race.
I'd say old Blaney has not forgotten how to get it. You know, he had a great car here a couple of years ago, had that wheel come off on the back straightaway, and was leading the race and looking pretty good that day. Looking awfully good right here, Larry. It's going to come down. What are we going to do on that last stop, bud?
Well, it's going to be under green, possibly, but whether it's green or caution, we're going to get 4 tires, and it's going to be an equal run, about 58 laps from the last time we were on pit road to the end of the race when we make that pit stop.
You don't think there's any way we could hoodoo them, do you? And maybe steal one?
If you want to hoodoo them with 2 tires, you'll do it by yourself.
I'm just asking.
Dale Jr. moves to 4th ahead of Tony Stewart.
If you're going to fill me up with fuel, you might as well give me 4 tires.
That's exactly right, because we know Matt Kenseth in that group in the 17, they can do it in about 13 seconds.
Exactly.
And it takes that long to dump 2 cans of fuel in.
Laps to pit come up in the ticker across the top of the screen. The other lead lap cars, Joe Nemechek,
Let me know when I go by here.
Joe Nemechek, Elliott Sadler, Jimmy Spencer, Ryan Newman, and Rusty Wallace.
And again, everybody will, should we stay green, everybody will have to make one more stop. And that'll be with about 55, 60 laps to go.
Historically, we're going to have one more caution.
You know, of course, everybody has the 2003 bodies, new bodies, the 24-car Jeff Gordon. This is the same chassis. This was like their favorite chassis last year. It's a chassis that he won Kansas with, and they ran it at most of the 1.5 mile racetracks, just put the 2003 Chevrolet Monte Carlo body on it.
Well, we still got 5 Chevys leading this thing. 5 Chevys in the top 5, and you know, it's hot and slick out there today. I think their downforce and the balance they have is paying off for them.
If it's paying off here, just wait till we get to that place next week. Ooh. The Lady in Black.
Ooh.
Darlington, South Carolina.
I never understood how you could go to a racetrack and you were supposed to rub the wall. You're not going fast enough. How you know? Because your right side doesn't have any scratches on it.
That was part of the plan. Of the top 5, only Jimmy Johnson has not led this race today. Dale Earnhardt Jr. has been out in front for 23 laps. He's currently 4th. Steve?
Dale Earnhardt Jr. pitted on lap 208, Mike. They made an air pressure adjustment, which when the run started made him extremely tight. But now he told Tony Eury Jr. and Sr. that the car's getting a lot better in turns 3 and 4. And he said, if I run the middle groove, I don't push as much.
There you see Dale Earnhardt Jr. 21 laps till he should be on pit road for adjustments, 4 tires, make that final run.
Tony Stewart, is, you know, he said his car's better on the long haul, and I tell you, he's starting to catch Dale Jr. and he's starting to move up.
Let's check on the runner-up. Tony's teammate Bobby Labonte. Jeannie?
And it is all about teamwork for the 18 and the 20 guys. The 18 just made a tire swap with the 20. Turns out the Goodyear tire allotment that they were given for this week, the 20 car actually had some of the tires that would run better on the 18 car, and vice versa. The 18 having tires that would be better for the 20. So they just made the swap. And during the next pit stop, the 18 car will have a tire that says 20 on it. Dick?
Ryan Newman had an absolutely perfect weekend going until the green flag dropped here. He had led every single practice session, started on the pole. He's had trouble with the chassis all day. They've tried to adjust it, and now the power steering is completely gone. He's just told the crew that he really can't do anything more with the car. He's giving it all it's got, and he's back in 11th spot. A lot of people thought Ryan Newman was going to win today.
He's hanging on to the lead lap.
Now, the Goodyear tires have codes on them. They got all kinds of different little numbers down there. The tire people, they look at all those codes, A's and B's and 1s and 3s and all the numbers, and they know what that means. And if a car runs really good with a particular set of tires on it, then they go searching for those same code so they can put that same tire back on that car for that last pit stop.
Now, Larry, you used to be able to go to the tire truck and go through and pick out your tires, but now NASCAR assigns them out of the truck. You don't get to look at them.
They actually have officials there. As here we're seeing this battle for 4th between Tony Stewart, the 20, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. at 8. But yeah, they pass the tires out, and it could be a number of things. It could be the codes. It could be the stagger, the difference between the left side and the right side size. It could even be that spring rate, because that's what the tire is a spring.
Me and Buddy Parrott used to go up in the Goodyear truck when we first get to the racetrack. We get there early, and we'd stay up in there all afternoon. And then finally people said, why do they go up in that truck every week? Well, Buddy and Noah Danner, they knew the codes. We'd pick out all of our own tires, and they'd mount them. And everybody said we had special tires. We did, but we picked them ourselves.
Well, I'll tell you what, I was going to watch these two guys right here racing side by side. They didn't in the race side by side too long because that little old yellow car back there, the 17, he was catching them in a hurry while they were doing side by side. Matt Kenseth in the 17.
Right, Kenseth has passed Dave Blaney, who remains 7.5 seconds off the lead. And Kenseth working his way toward the front as he did last week in Vegas.
And we wasn't rule breakers. That was no rule against that. You can do what you want to. You can pick out your tires if you want to. We knew to. We were rule makers.
Just a little bit tight.
And far in the tight.
Just roll in a little tight on throttle off at 2.
Tight on throttle off at 2. 10-4.
Just a little bit.
And what Jimmy Johnson is telling his crew chief, Chad Canals, is the car's not wanting to turn. The front wheels is sliding, and that's important information. But if I'm his crew chief, I need to know what it did at the beginning of the run, the middle of the run, and right before that pit stop, I need to know what it's doing at the end of the run because this run's going to be about the same length as that last run should we stay green.
And there's those codes I'm talking about, Larry. And if you know what they mean, then you can match your tires up.
72 laps to go. One more pit stop to come here in Atlanta. Jeff Gordon still leads here in Atlanta. If you missed the secret car earlier today, you can still enter the Be a Grand Marshal for a Day contest. Tune into the first hour next week at Darlington. Look for the secret number on the animated car. Log on to NASCAR.com or FoxSports.com for more details. And that's where you enter to win to be the Grand Marshal next year at Rockingham.
Boy, look off into the fourth turn there. The car's coming off that turn. That track has really gotten slick up high. You can see all that dark rubber up there. That baby's really treacherous as you come off turn 4.
Here comes last week's winner, Matt Kenseth in the 17 car. He's zooming in on Dale Earnhardt Jr. That will be a battle for 4th. And you know what? If this comes down to that last green flag pit stop, put my money on that old 17 car.
He might be doing that Kurt Busch deal. Here, Chevy, 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 Chevy.
No, I'm thinking something a little different. He is reminding me of David Pearson and the Wood brothers.
Oh, yeah.
David would run the car as hard as it would go, and he won more races than anybody in NASCAR history except for Richard Petty. And Pearson, though, at the end, he'd be right up there. It'd be part David. It would have been part the pit work of the Wood brothers, and Matt Kenseth and that Robbie Reiser team just kind of have that look at the way they've gone about winning races.
They're very methodical, and they don't get in a rush. You know, they take their time. They've learned their lessons well. They didn't start off that way, but they've learned their lessons well.
Getting close on pit stops here.
You see 6 laps, and this battle right here is about 6.5, 6 3/4 seconds behind leader Jeff Gordon.
Kenseth just goes under Dale Jr. and makes the pass. That moves him up to 4th place. He's inching closer to the front.
He's inching closer to the front of the point standings, too.
Yeah, with points leader Michael Waltrip, he's running back in 33rd position, so this would definitely be a good point stay for Matt Kenseth. And Darrell, this is where, if you're the crew chief there, you see we're looking at Michael Waltrip as he drives off into turn 1. Those crew chiefs for those 10 or 11, 12 teams on the lead lap. There you see Jeff Gordon. He's putting 2 teammates down a lap. Rusty Wallace, who hit the wall earlier in the 2. Ryan Newman in the 12, who has a power steering problem. So that puts now 10 cars on the lead lap. But this is where green flag stop, no mistakes. No loose lug nuts, no tires rolling away. And on my driver, don't get me all you can, but don't speed coming down pit road or don't speed leaving.
You want a lot, don't you?
That's it, but that's what you have to have.
You notice who it all fell on.
Yeah, right.
It all fell on.
Right on your shoulders, driver.
Don't come in too fast. Come in fast enough, but.
Now, Rusty Wallace in the 2 car, he went a lap down, so he decided to come on the pit road and make his final pit stop.
I tell you what, though, after knocking the wall down over off turn 2, they did a pretty darn good job of getting him out there and keeping him fairly competitive.
This will all be scheduled pit stops. This should get everyone to the end of the race should it stay green.
But that final pit stop under green, you're right. It's like gymnastics or figure skating. You're aiming for a perfect 10. And what you want most is no miscues, no mistakes.
And as it comes down to the end of the race, and this is your last stop, I mean, you have no time to recover. You make a mistake now, you fall way back, that's probably going to end your day, your chance of winning.
Jeff Gordon telling Robbie Loomis, I'm just a little bit loose here at the end of this run.
That voice sounded to me like he was looser than he was letting on, because he's up an octave.
4 laps, loose winter.
Robbie Loomis telling him we're going to pit in 4 laps, and I acknowledge that you are a little bit loose.
Ryan Newman comes to pit lane. 10 cars left on the lead lap, Jeff.
Mike, one of the things I've been noticing that we see Ryan Newman going down pit road is this week compared to last week at Las Vegas, Jeff Gordon has got his tape on his front nose like the DEI cars were, as well as like Joe Gibbs. He says his car's a little bit loose. We keep hearing from Jimmy Johnson, his teammate, who has the same tape configuration from last week on his nose, which is right in the center. His car's a little bit tight. We keep talking about aero. Find it very interesting. These two cars are taped differently, and each driver is complaining about a different feel in his race car.
Yeah, I mean, there you see, this is last week at Las Vegas. This is this week at Atlanta.
Yeah, well, at Las Vegas, you want to plant the nose. That's the biggest thing out there is the car wants to push, particularly off those flat turns. Here, you want to get into the corner good. So open that grill up a little bit. It's very sensitive. That'll help the car be a little more comfortable getting into the corner.
But if you notice, he has a little extra on the left side, and what that's doing, that's planting that left front corner. Makes that car turn, hug the bottom.
Michael Waltrip pitting, Greg Biffle, Jack Sprague, Tony Stewart, along with Ward Burton, Robbie Gordon, Todd Bodine, and John Andretti.
Comes at 38.
Sterling Marlin and Elliott Sadler. Squeeze play there. Stewart gets into his pit.
Terry Labonte in the 5 car. Kyle Petty, who's several laps down. Casey Mears. And here comes Jeff Gordon. And Bobby Labonte in 18.
Yeah. And that'll mean everybody.
Yeah, this is that stop you don't want to stay out there very long. Steve Burns.
4 tires for Jeff Gordon. They're going to add a little air pressure to the left rear. They take a tear off. Steve Letarte and Craig Currione, the tire carriers. Jack Mann. Jeff Cook slams the jack up to the left side. Gordon is away. 13.9 seconds. Good stop.
Well, Greg Zipadelli's crew set the bar high at 13.6 for Tony Stewart.
Other lead lap cars, Dave Blaney in the 77, Jimmy Spencer in the 7, and Joe Nemechek in the 25. Here comes Jimmy Johnson and Matt Kenseth to pit road, and Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Everybody. Let's watch Matt Kenseth see if they can beat Stewart's 13.6. Jeannie?
A new car for the 17 team. Same old Matt Kenseth, because here he comes with a great pit crew and a great crew chief, Robbie Reiser, who helped him get the job done last week in Las Vegas. The talk here, half-pound out the left side tires, and he won some wedge as well from playing the cars. A little loose, they're gone. 13.4.
They did it.
And they already made a chassis adjustment on the 48 of Jimmy Johnson. He was a little tight at the end of that run.
Got a little race going on here on the apron between Jimmy Johnson and Matt there. Jimmy got down too far, got that way down in the loose stuff. That really hurt him.
That's pretty much all the lead lap cars. Everybody has been to pit road now.
And I'm glad. If I'm sitting out there right now, I'm glad everybody's been to pit road.
And now most everybody a lap down has been to pit road. Robbie Reiser and crew have done it again. Fastest pit stop of what may be the final stop of the day. 54 laps to go here in Atlanta. NASCAR Winston Cup Racing on Fox, presented by Home Depot, is brought to you by Papa John's. Better ingredients, better pizza. Papa John's. And by Chevrolet. Wherever there's a winner's circle, we'll be there.
Welcome back live to Atlanta, and here's a look at the Coca-Cola Racing family in today's race. As you see, Bobby Labonte, who has led much of the day. Tony Stewart certainly in the hunt. Steve Park, Kevin Harvick, Dale Jarrett, Jeff Burton. Here's some others who have not done as well. You see Michael Waltrip, who came in as the points leader. First time in his career he led in points after not following the Daytona 500 or beyond that race. And currently Michael Waltrip running 32nd. But back to the leaders, and Jeff Gordon running ahead of Bobby Labonte and Matt Kenseth, one of the Roush team of racers, and certainly they've had 2 engines and 2 teams go out, Kurt Busch and Mark Martin, but he won last week and is making his move here.
Yes, he really is right now with the help of that pit crew. One more time, he's been slowly but surely all day long clawing his way back toward the front, even though he started way back in the back. beginning of this race. Robbie Risers made adjustment after adjustment, got him up to third place. He's only about 3.5 seconds behind leader Jeff Gordon right now.
And if you look at teammates here, obviously Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson with Hendrick Motorsports, and you see that Tony Stewart, Bobby Labonte, Gibbs Racing, but there are some guys like a Dave Blaney who certainly, they don't have Jimmy Spencer. They're not members of teams.
No, actually, they're kind of like, we call them single car operations, and they're doing a great job here today. Dave Blaney runs good here at Atlanta, but with his new crew chief, Booty Barker, they've been extremely strong, consistent so far this year. And hey, look what Jimmy Spencer's doing right there in that number 7 car. He's doing a great job here today, and it's good to see him back up here running the top 10.
And we've had 9 leaders, 18 different lead changes, 6 cars out of the race, 5 due to engine failure. And this is the most engine failures since the last season when we had 6. That was the most last season at both Talladega and Charlotte. Any particular reason, Jeff?
Because the fact when you get in the throttle here, you really hang a lot of RPM all the way around this racetrack. It's a momentum racetrack, and to do that, you got to keep your foot in the throttle, and it really, really wears these guys out. As you see right now, we got a battle for the lead between Jeff Gordon and Bobby Labonte.
Yeah, Bobby Labonte, a 5-time winner. Jeff Gordon trying to hold him off. Gordon, by the way, started 30th, and no driver has ever won this race from the 30th position. Some have won from further back, and here we go. Let's go upstairs to Mike Joy.
Bobby Labonte, you got to have the feeling it was just a matter of time before he'd be right there at Jeff Gordon's back bumper.
And you also got to see where he's running. See where that car is? On the white line. When you get it all adjusted up, and it's the end of the day, that's right where you want to be.
So for the 132nd lap of this race, Bobby Labonte has been the leader. He's led the most laps today.
But I tell you what, third place Matt Kenseth in that 17 car. He's in third now, and he's a little bit quicker than Jeff Gordon and Jimmy Johnson, who's right behind him. Now, just remember, a few laps before that pit stop, he was almost 7 seconds behind. Because of a good race car and a good pit stop, now he's chopped it down to 4 seconds. But if I'm Matt Kenseth, I want to see a yellow flag. I want to put it in the hands of my guy on pit road.
It'd be a big deal right there, but he's nibbling away at these guys up front here. If they get up here and get hung up in any traffic, Katie barred the door.
Kenseth third, Jimmy Johnson fourth, right with him. A ways back to 5th place. Dale Earnhardt Jr. Steve?
Yeah, Mike, quick update on that 8 car. Dale Earnhardt Jr. on the last pit stop, they changed 4 tires. He had gotten a little loose off of turn 4, so they took a ½ pound out of the right front tire.
There you see he's 8.5 seconds and losing ground down the backstretch to our leader right now, Bobby Labonte.
He just pulled over. I mean, he didn't even try to race with Robbie Gordon. He just pulled over and let him go. And Tony's back here closing up pretty quick on him. So I think Junior must have his hands full right now.
Stewart closing, so is Blaney. Nemechek and Sadler and Spencer are the lead lap cars.
Right now is when you're calling in saying, how much longer is this race anyway?
And the answer? 41 more laps.
And I guarantee you Ryan Newman in that 12 car, he's asking that question about every 10 laps out there with no power steering, but he's still hanging in there right now in 11th spot, but 1 lap down.
I think Jeff's going to try to follow Bobby here and say, okay, you passed me. How'd you do it? Let me go to school here a little bit.
But it seems like he's the weakest down in turn 1 and 2 right there where they just came off right now. It's like he's definitely riding higher than Bobby Labonte in 1 and 2. They run about the same groove in 3 and 4, at least the last couple of laps they have. Now it looks like Jeff Gordon's coming down to the bottom of the racetrack where Bobby Labonte was.
Made the pass. I tell you, Gordon, I think he looked at what Bobby did and he said, let me try that lower groove in 3 and 4. And that's what happens to the racetrack. It'll change. Right now, you're doing all you can do. You're pedaling as hard as you can go, guys, because it's coming. You're running out of laps. Don't leave anything on the table now.
Bobby Labonte is out in front as one car slows off turn 2, crawling down the back straightaway, and will likely make it around. That's Jack Sprague. I think he'll make it back around to pit road.
He just had been on pit road, and it looks like when he tried to get up to speed, something happened to the car coming off the turn 2.
Let's check with Dick Berggren on the race leader.
Early in the race, Mike, Bobby Labonte had struggled pretty hard trying to keep some people from passing him and getting their lap back. He didn't want that to happen before that caution flag came out, and in the process he managed to burn the tires off his car. But since then he spent a lot of time on the radio talking to his crew. He wants to hear lap times. He wants to hear how things look. He is trying very, very hard to prevent those tires from burning off the car. He's going to need good rubber on that thing all the way to the end if he hopes to win this.
And really, late in the race, some drivers say, don't talk to me. But when you get a little tired, you've been out there working real hard, you want to hear another voice. You want to hear those lap times. Am I still up on the wheel? Am I still getting the job done? You know, because you get a little tired and you start easing out that throttle a little bit. And like you've heard me say before, boy, you ain't laying down on me, are you?
I tell you, the thing he's going to have to contend with here in a few laps is a bunch of lap cars, including Mongo, who's on verge of going lap down.
Uh-oh, big trouble.
36 laps to go in the Bass Pro Shops MBNA 500.
Run, Mongo, run.
NASCAR Winston Cup Racing on Fox, presented by Home Depot, is brought to you by Ford, the official truck of NASCAR. By Stacker 2, the world's strongest fat burner. By the United States Army, an army of one. And by Napa Auto Parts. 31 laps to go in Atlanta. And if it stays green, we're here with you until the checkered flag. Aerial coverage by Budweiser showing you Atlanta Motor Speedway flip-flopped. What you see on the left is the front straightaway. That used to run straight off the corner and straight down here as the old backstretch. They flip-flopped it so they could build all those new grandstands and condos, increase the capacity, build new garages. A lot of money poured into this place to make it one of NASCAR's premier tracks.
Yeah, when you're sitting on this side of the racetrack looking across at the back straightaway now, I bet people wonder, gosh, wonder what they ever used those grandstands for. That used to be the main straightaway and the main grandstand, the little press box down there and the whole 9 yards.
If you want your NASCAR coverage to last all week, make sure your cable system carries Speed Channel, home of NASCAR TV. Call your local cable or satellite provider or call toll-free 1-888-22-SPEED.
Well, Craftsman Truck Series will be back in action on Speed Channel next Friday at Darlington. Their second race of the season.
28 laps to go, and since we came back from commercial, Bobby Labonte's lead has been extended from 1.4 to 2 seconds over Jeff Gordon. Steve Burns.
And Mike, Jeff Gordon just had a very short radio transmission to crew chief Robbie Loomis. He said, Robbie, it's starting to go away.
And right now, Matt Kenseth in the 17, who had made it up to third, he's kind of hit that brick wall because he's running identical times to Bobby Labonte, but the problem is he's 4.5 seconds behind. He just can't get there. He needs that caution.
Now in fourth, Jimmy Johnson. He is 6.7 seconds back. Matt.
Mike, back on his last stop, they made a chassis adjustment. 3 laps ago, Jimmy came on the radio and said, Chad, the car is just so loose. I've almost spun out twice. I am just so loose. He's running in fourth, but he's trying to hold on to that race car. Right now, he's running about 3/10 of a lap slower than leader Bobby Labonte.
Jamie McMurray takes his Dodge into the garage, and that may well be engine. Said he had no power as he coasted in.
We need to document. We talked about Jack Sprague in the 0 car running slow down the backstretch. He's in the garage area as well, and he's out for the day.
And historically now, I know history doesn't always repeat itself, but historically there should be another caution here with just 20 or so laps to go. And that's when it gets a lot of pressure on the crew chief and the pit crew.
And there's about 10 or 11 cars would love to see a caution. The only one that don't want to see it is Bobby Labonte.
Dale Jr. is running the same lap times as leader Bobby Labonte, but still fighting that handling issue. Joe Nemechek and Elliott Sadler battle for 8th.
And I've been watching Elliott Sadler in the 38 car. He by far may be the best race car in this final run right here. But again, the problem is they're 3/4 of a lap behind leader Bobby Labonte.
And you can just see these cautions.
Caution is out. Caution is out. Boy, does this change the complexity of this race. And DW, you made the call. Oh, history kicked in again, didn't it, buddy?
Sure it is. It's good being a historian.
Ricky Rudd coasted on pit road and into the garage.
And that's a Roush engine too, so that's 3 Roush engines in the garage here along with Mark Martin and Kurt Busch. Things will be busy at Roush Industries this week.
And Bill Elliott, Kenny Schrader, and perhaps the 42 of McMurray. 3 Dodges, 3 Fords.
Now, pit stops. How about that 17 group? I don't want to take anything away from Bobby Labonte's crew, Jeff Gordon crew, but history says the 17 crew is the crew to watch.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Where they are on pit road is going to be a big factor, too. you know, where their pits are. The 17's got a good pit stall down here.
What's that movie, Conspiracy Theory?
Yeah.
People are going to start sending you email. Well, we're going to have a caution come out in about 20 laps to go. Here we are.
Hey,
folks, it's strictly coincidence.
I didn't get in there and saw anything into in that motor.
And I just think we're going to have a 20-lap run. We've been out there 30-something laps on these tires. I don't think anybody would do no two-tire stuff. I think you'd be in big trouble if you did. I know we made that call earlier, and it didn't work out that bad. But I think you're starting to hear these guys. Their handling's going away on these race cars.
And the track's really slick, Larry. You can see the rubber on it, and you can just see the cars sliding off the corners now. They don't have a lot of grip in them. Only thing you're going to get grip with now is 4 brand new Eagles.
All right, 10 cars are left on the lead lap with 23 laps to go. You've got one last best chance to get your car as right as possible for the run to the checker. And here they all come. Steve Burns.
Caleb Hurd's going to adjust that track bar down 3/4 of a turn. 4 tires for Jeff Gordon. He's gotten just a little bit loose. Jeannie.
Matt Kenseth wanted to make an adjustment on the car because it's a little loose, but he said, we do not have the time. 4 tires, that is the plan.
Gordon's out 14-9. Can anybody better that?
Matt Kenseth's right with him, though. They're side by side, but Bobby Labonte in 18's going to beat them both out. Matt Yoakum.
18, everybody goes by Jimmy Johnson. A little slow on the rear. They made an air pressure and wedge adjustment.
Tony had a really slow stop. He's going to come out behind all these guys.
You know, pretty much it was on the cruise because almost all of our leaders had an open pit behind them and an open pit in front of them. No blocking in. There you see Bobby Labonte. Boy, that was almost too close to call. We'll have to let NASCAR make that call between Matt Kenseth and Jeff Gordon.
I think was Kenseth ahead of him? It looked like he may have been.
There's the reaction for Bobby Labonte's crew.
They just, when you beat the best, and that's what they just did, I would celebrate.
Dick Berggren.
And Bobby Labonte's crew indeed is still celebrating from that pit stop. Hollywood Armstrong's running around banging people on the back. These guys are so animated. They had a lousy season last year, but today they've been right on the edge of pit wall. Every time Bobby Labonte has come down the straightaway, they've applauded him, and right now it's high fives and pats on the back. Yes, you guys did a great job.
Let's have another look at the race off pit road between Jeff Gordon and Matt Kenseth.
I thought the 17 might have been a fender ahead, but couldn't really get a good. I didn't look at it that quickly, so we'll see here.
24 car. Boy.
Looks like a couple of finishes.
And that's how
we've seen
NASCAR
here.
did score. It was a 24 car did come off in
Oh, yeah,
second.
it's only by inches, but that's all that matters. Matt might have wanted to gas it a little bit right there at the line. All right, guys, this is what it's all about. I don't know where everybody's been, but I know where they are now. I'm talking about everybody at home.
You mean we've been here? Oh, John Andretti, Jerry Nadeau, and Steve Park collide on pit road.
Steve Park has a lot of damage to his car.
Yeah,
There's
so does
John
John
Andretti.
Now these cars are going to get. They're going to come out of the pits. The question is, are they going to throw down any debris? Because there's a lot of damage on these cars.
How did that happen?
Here
Let's
comes.
Watch Steve Park coming out of his
right
pit.
Here, he just
right
comes
there.
straight out. Bam. Man, that is absolutely like he had no peripheral vision whatsoever.
But I'm going to tell you, Darrell, this is one of the places I do defend the driver. I put a lot on the crew chief's shoulders, a lot on the spotter's shoulders. Remember, he's in there with headrest all the way down both sides, a full face helmet. It's on that crew chief's shoulder to talk him out of that pit road.
We're still on. We're still under caution here, so.
Yeah, they waved off the restart.
The restart, because they got to come in.
Because of that.
These cars are going to have a lot of loose stuff hanging off of them.
And Mongo back to pit road.
Did he get damage in that?
Jeannie?
Well, actually, that is what Matt Kenseth is wondering right now, if he has some problems with that right front tire. He asked when he comes by to keep a look at the car because something does not feel right. He doesn't know if there's an air pressure problem or he's just making sure, first of all, that the tire was on. But they told him from the crew box here that, hey, everything's okay. Keep going.
Now, the last car on the lead lap will be Jimmy Spencer.
It's really weird here.
Spencer's come in for 4 tires, as well as the 3 cars. The 3 cars that just got damaged are also in for repair.
And NASCAR has made the call that the driver, the crew chief, and the spotter for the one car, Steve Park, they want to have a little meeting in the NASCAR trailer after the race.
Somebody's got some splaining to do.
And again, I'm going to defend Steve Park on this one because I put a lot on the crew chief's shoulders and the spotter's shoulders. We are on 1 to go, and this will be within the last 25 laps, so only lead lap cars only to the outside.
Bobby Labonte, Jeff Gordon, Matt Kenseth, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Jimmy Johnson, then Tony Stewart, Dave Blaney, Elliott Sadler, Joe Nemechek, and Jimmy Spencer.
You might want to go wake up Jesse, because I don't think you've seen anything like this lately.
All right, we'll look at the Fox tracks now. Pace car is going to drop off. You see Bobby Labonte about 53, 54 miles per hour. Right about the restart area here at the green grass. Jeff Gordon in the 24 laying back a little bit, but he don't want to lay back too much. He'll have to contend with that lap traffic.
Got a pretty nice run there, Larry. Got a lot of momentum. That little gap he left between him and Bobby Labonte is going to give him a chance to go low and get under Bobby, but Bobby's back in the throttle hard there off turn 2.
And Michael Waltrip went up high, and that held back Matt Kenseth, the third-place car.
But Bobby Labonte, I think, being up in the high groove on a restart, he was able to keep that momentum, start getting it wound up in the high side through 1 and 2. Boy, Dale Earnhardt Jr., he pulls right up to the back bumper of Matt Kenseth in the 17. Actually got him just a little bit loose in turn 4. That's a battle for third.
Something's wrong with that 48 car. He couldn't go.
He got hit on the restart.
And Greg Biffle just got in the back of Ricky Craven trying to get around Jimmy Johnson. Traffic jam. Second week in a row that Johnson has been plagued with trouble toward the end of the race.
Oh, there he is. He's blowing up on the back, I believe.
And another car is slow going into turn 3. That's Andretti. And a car's up near the wall in turn 3.
That's the 99 car.
No caution yet. Caution is out.
Gotta have a caution. Gotta have a caution.
There is action everywhere.
You all right, Jesse?
That's another Roush engine. If it is an engine now, if it is an engine, there's an awful lot of smoke, Darrell. It sure looks like it.
Yep.
Matt?
Mike, Jimmy came on the radio and said, I think there's something wrong with the motor. Right now, Chad is asking me, are you sure it's something wrong with the engine? And Jimmy goes, oh, yeah. It's definitely something's wrong with the engine.
Oh, yeah.
You can smell it.
Well, that's the first of the Chevrolets to have engine trouble today.
Yeah, it's mainly been Dodges and Fords that's had the problems.
3 Roush Fords with engine trouble in the garage. Mark Barton, Kurt Busch, and now Jeff Burton. 3 Dodges, Bill Elliott, Ken Schrader, and Jamie McMurray with engine trouble. And now Jimmy Johnson. Now here's Burton coasting in. And there's Jimmy Johnson. Back to pit road.
And they are done for the day. They looked at the engine. Chad Knaus just said, we are done. Let's push it back.
Of course, Matt, he comes in here third in the points, so he'll take a big hit in these points, losing an engine.
He could have taken the point lead today. He was in position to do that.
He could have taken it last week.
That's right. 0 for 2.
I'm going to tell you, I'm looking at the score monitor here. The car that has come to life through some attrition, but through staying after it, is Elliott Sadler in that 38 car. He's up to 5th position right behind Matt Kenseth.
And the car that is the driver who's way up on the chip on that last restart with Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Yeah, because he went by Matt Kenseth for 3rd.
Jeannie?
Well, Matt Kenseth just radioed into his crew chief saying it feels like the power steering is going in and out. The steering box is hard, soft, soft. I think I can control it. Crew chief, of course, saying back to him, look, we're just going to have to live it out. Hold on.
Well, Jeff Hammond, Jeff Burton just made that left-hand turn into the garage area. That's 4 out of 5 Roush engines that went to the garage area with the failure. Not a good day for Jack Roush in that group.
No, it's not. And every one of them looked so similar. And after watching them, it looks like they got a piston problem, Larry. And I think you've been around long enough to know that when that happens, at least it makes you feel good that all of them are having the problem, because you know it's where it is right now. And unfortunately, it's going to hurt them all, because they really were up in the points, and they're going to take a big hit today.
So we had the big restart with 20 to go to end the race. I mean, we're going to have to do this all again?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It'll be a little more sane this time, because we eliminated a few guys from the hunt. But it's going to be this is a big crapshoot. If we were in Vegas, I'd call it a crapshoot, and that's about what it is.
Of course, you saw Matt Kenseth, the 17 car. That's the only Roush car that's still out there running right now without having an engine problem. He's complaining about the power steering.
And you can see smoke almost, it looks like, coming out the back of his car.
Stay dry. I think that's stay dry, Larry. Can't tell for sure.
Now watch on the right of your screen. Way on the right of your screen, here comes Tony Stewart into the picture against Jimmie Johnson.
But Jimmy is already blowing up, Mike. You can see a little puff of smoke coming out from under the car. That's why he got in the back of him.
Tony was lucky then not to run right over him.
Exactly. Jimmy was trying desperately to get out of the way, and he just couldn't get down.
Darrell, one thing I've got when I ask you is the fact that on restarts like this, a lot of times it's real easy for a driver, especially late in the race, trying to get a good restart. He may have over-revved the engine and created that problem, correct?
Yeah, you've stretched everything to the limit already, Jeff. Now you come down here late in the day, and you got to wind this thing up through the gears, and sometimes it'll break something.
1 to go. We'll get the green flag with 13 laps to go.
And 9 cars on the lead lap. Bobby Labonte, Jeff Gordon, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Matt Kenseth, Elliott Sadler, Tony Stewart, Dave Blaney, Joe Nemechek, and Jimmy Spencer is still on the lead lap at 9th.
How's your balance in the luck bank now?
Well, I know one thing. I bet Bobby Labonte doesn't let Jeff Gordon lay back on him like he did this last restart. And yeah, it's just get your best hold right now.
Well, the way he shot out on that last restart, I get the feeling Junior's about to make a withdrawal.
I think you're right.
It'll still be a double file restart because we're not within that 10-lap window, but it will only be those 9 cars on the lead lap to the outside. But that's a lot of lap cars for the guys, especially 4th on back, to have to fight.
And why is Bobby Labonte leading this race at this point? Because his crew had the fastest last pit stop.
When it counted. Get me out front, and I can win this race.
And you know, as we were talking about Matt Kenseth's crew coming that pit stop, we wasn't downplaying Bobby Labonte's crew or Jeff Gordon's crew, but you know, history said those guys have rose to the occasion every time they've come to pit road.
Hey, when you're trying to do 13.5 second pit stops, and you know you're right there every time, and somebody pulls a 13.3 on you, what do you expect?
Well, let's make a little history here. We're going to restart with 13 laps to go. Report that there is smoke from Matt Kenseth.
And Dale Earnhardt Jr., he laid back that time, but Jeff Gordon, you can pass to the right side. He looks like he caught Bobby Labonte maybe sleeping just a little bit, and I think he'll keep the high side, the momentum.
Boy, Bobby's going to have to really get after it right here.
And he did.
He's going to have to come up in front of Jeff, or it's going to be trouble. He couldn't stop him from getting in front of him.
And Junior's coming hard right after the 2 of them.
Boy, did Jeff Gordon drive that thing down into turn 3 that time. It stuck right around the bottom.
Bobby's in trouble now. He's in the middle with a car in front and a car behind.
"12 laps to go.
And Matt Kenseth right now is just a little too far back in 4th place.
He might be in just the right spot if these 3 guys up here get together. You might want a little cushion right there. I'm thinking Bobby Labonte is not happy about Jeff Gordon getting around him. He's going to try him on the outside.
Boy, it gets close right there.
And I tell you, the track is so slick right there.
Labonte forced his way around the outside where there wasn't hardly room to do it. And he wants the lead back and takes it.
And they definitely touched off turn 4. That's where Bobby Labonte's been strong right there on the high side off of turn 2.
He's gone now. That's a good move. I think Dale Jr.'s just kind of hanging in there right now. I don't think he can run with those first 2 cars.
10 laps to go this time. Jeff Gordon tried to drive it bound in there. His car just wouldn't go through the middle. Bobby Labonte's just stretching it out now.
That 18 car, old Fatback's got her hooked up, hasn't he, Larry?
Yes, he does.
Been good all day long, led to most laps, been out front. And my favorite words, you're pulling away.
And I mean, Darrell, he just ran a 30.25. That's only 0.3 of a second slower than his fastest lap of the day, and that's almost 500 miles into this race.
10 to go, and you're pulling away. That's music to your ears.
Dick Berggren.
Just after Bobby Labonte passed Jeff Gordon for the lead, Fatback McSwain, his crew chief, calling in the radio. That's what I call a race car driver.
The fastest laps of this race were just turned about 8 laps ago. Bobby Labonte, Jeff Gordon, Elliott Sadler.
Well, the sun's going down, the track's cooling off. That's a song here somewhere, but I can't remember what it was.
Now, Bobby Labonte's teammate, Tony Stewart, just went by Elliott Sadler for the 5th place. There you see Michael Fatback McSwain and Jimmy Maycar, who was crew chief for the 18 car ever since this race team started back in 1992, and then he went to competition director here at the beginning of this year.
Well, bringing Fatback in, Michael McSwain, I think that was a really, really smart move. He and Bobby Labonte have similar personalities. They're racers. There he is right there, and look at him. He's got to be a happy camper right now.
Look at that race car will run anywhere he wants to put it. On the bottom, up top, any place.
He proved that by going around Jeff Gordon on the outside.
Here's Dave Blaney trying to hold off Joe Nemechek, and that's for 8th place. Jimmy Spencer just ahead of them in 7th.
Got a heck of a race back in here, guys. Got a car down on the grass down there. I don't know who it is.
Jerry Nadeau, I think that is, limping toward pit road.
He's got oil coming out of it.
He's got everything coming off the front of it.
Yeah, he's been into the wall hard. He did make it to pit road. No caution.
Nadeau was involved in that Steve Park incident on pit road. A lot of damage to the right front. It looked like a cut of tire there.
He just goes, well, he was going to go straight to the garage area. Couldn't get it turned in.
Well, just so few laps to go, I'm sure his crew said, bring it on down here and let us look at it. But they're not going to like what they see.
Well, I know what Michael McSwain liked what he sees. That's that 18-car lead.
Here goes Nadeau right here.
That's the signs of a tire going down.
Maybe, but the thing, it's almost like something was bent, you know, like in the steering from that accident on pit road.
And it just didn't.
And he couldn't control it.
5 laps to go for Bobby Labonte.
1 second ahead of Jeff Gordon. And Dale Earnhardt Jr. has settled in 3rd, 1.5 seconds off the lead. Matt Kenseth has not been able to gain on the leaders, but he's holding a strong 4th right here. And Kenseth is in position to take over the point lead.
Yeah, he's running the same lap times as Bobby Labonte and Jeff Gordon, but the problem is he's 2.5 seconds behind with 4 laps to go.
Kenseth is probably going to be happy that that engine is running to the finish after what's happened to his Roush teammates today.
Yeah, but I know we talked a little bit about smoke. I'm not so sure that wouldn't stay dry, and I haven't really seen any problem with his car. It's been really, really strong.
Jeff Gordon, Dale Earnhardt Jr., they're trying all kinds of different lines at both ends of the racetrack. They just don't seem to be gaining none on Bobby Labonte.
No, they're pretty well spread out about the same. Bobby's just got them covered. There's no way.
5th place, Tony Stewart. Elliott Sadler had been catching Stewart, but he's been held up in traffic. Jimmy Spencer in 7th, Dave Blaney in 8th, and Joe Nemechek in 9th. Those are the lead lap cars. Ryan Newman, the pole sitter, is 10th.
Out there wrestling a car with no power steering 1 lap down.
If Ryan Newman ever has a routine day with no problems and no getting behind, he could lap the field.
2 laps to go, a little over 3 miles for Bobby Labonte.
Greg Biffle's had a good day, guys. He's finishing up here. He's 13th right now. A guy that didn't make the race last weekend. That's a Roush car. Pretty nice job.
And I tell you, right in front of him, a guy that's had a good steady run, Ricky Craven in that 32 car. He's 12th 1 lap down.
Again, that's a team, I think, Larry, that's going to get better as the year goes on with the new Pontiac, their own engine program. They got a good program.
And Johnny Benson got a lap down early. Fought hard the rest of the day. He's in 11th place. White flag over the Interstate Batteries MB&A Pontiac of Bobby Labonte, looking for his 6th Atlanta victory.
He's just strolling away on these boys now. He's got him about a 20-car length advantage headed off into turn 3. No lap traffic, clear racetrack.
Off turn 4 and still running laps just above 31 seconds. Here he comes. Bobby Labonte scores his 20th career victory in the Bass Pro Shops MB&A 500. Joe Gibbs Racing, his team, has now won 7 of the last 14 races here.
Jeff Gordon in 2nd, Dale Earnhardt Jr. in 3rd, Matt Kenseth in 4th, and Tony Stewart, his teammates, in 5th. And there you see one happy crew.
Well, that's a great job. I mean, the way they ran last week at Vegas, coming here today, this team is back to their old self.
Well, if you're going to beat everybody off pit road once in the day, let it be on that last pit stop.
Yeah, and I think it's really good for Bobby Labonte. I think he'd gotten down on himself just a little bit after last year. This is going to be a great confidence booster to him. Look at Fatback. All right. Celebrate the good times, boys.
You know, that had to be a tough decision for Michael Fatback McSwain to leave Robert Yates Racing at the end of last year. I'm sure he questioned it for a long time, and here he is in victory lane 4 races into this 2003 season.
I'm sure it's just coincidence that their pit is located right outside victory lane. It's the closest one to it.
Bobby Labonte's going to do us a few donuts here.
Get you a couple of dozen there.
Three Chevys, a Ford, and a Chevy complete the top 5 today. Here is the final pass for the lead. First, Jeff Gordon on the restart takes it to Bobby Labonte.
And that's something you worry about as the leader of the race, that guy behind you doesn't anticipate when you're going to go and he jumps you. That's exactly what happened that time. Didn't make any difference, as we'll see.
Boy, Jeff Gordon just made himself room out there.
3 Chevrolets, a Ford, a Chevrolet, and a Ford in the top 6. Whoa, baby.
Coming off turn 4 toward the start-finish line, and I think it just broke Jeff Gordon's momentum enough, and Bobby Labonte was able to go by him on the high side, clear him off into turn 1.
I think Jeff Gordon probably said, okay, I'll get out of the way.
And Bobby Labonte will leap from 13th to 5th in NASCAR's top 10.
Bobby's got a great run here, and actually what Jeff's trying to do is keep him from going to the outside.
One bunch knew that was the winning pass. Right there. Steve Burns is with the runner-up.
Thanks, Mike. With Jeff Gordon. Jeff, you guys fought it all day long. A great finish. Tell us about your battle with Bobby Labonte.
Well, he had, you know, the best car all day. We kind of swapped back and forth there a little bit. You know, we tightened the car up there at the end, hoping that we'd get the lead. And when we did, thinking that we could drive away, and I got in front of him. I couldn't believe his car didn't take off real good on the restarts, and I got beside him and, you know, was able to get by him. But I was just too tight, and Bobby was so strong. I learned some things from him today. He's so good around this place, but I couldn't be more happy for this DuPont Chevrolet team. What an awesome job. Come from 30th all the way to the front, and great pit stops. I mean, that's the kind of team that you know we can be, and hopefully we'll start doing that every weekend.
Good job, Jeff. Let's go to Dick Berggren.
Dale Earnhardt Jr., 37th to 3rd. What a day you had.
Yeah, finally we had something make us pretty happy. With last week's run and this week's run, we got a lot of points to get the game back. But the car was good. We had really an awkward setup in the car I didn't feel real confident in, and it worked. So, you know, new body, had to change the whole thing. We didn't run anything like we'd ran when we run so good here in the past. So I was real nervous today, but good run for us.
You're holding your shot. You okay?
Yeah, I didn't have any water in there. Should have had some water in there. My kidneys hurt a little bit.
Okay, let's go to Mike.
23 lead changes among 10 drivers. Dick Labonte led 9 times for a dominating 172 laps. Since they redesigned this track in 1997, he's won 5 of the 12 races here. And Matt Yoakum's waiting for him to climb out of that Chevrolet in victory lane.
And he says, that's okay, Bobby Labonte. Jimmy Makar told me you could always count on Atlanta. A hug from Tyler. Makar told me last week you could always count on Atlanta to get that turnaround. This is a big day for you and this team.
Oh, I tell you what, these guys did a great job in this Interstate Battery Chevrolet. You know, it was really better off the first part of the race. You know, then the track came to those other guys, and the 24, the 8, the 17. You know, they were fast.
Go ahead and wipe.
Thank you. Anyway, the 24, he just kept it honest. I mean, that son of a guy was so fast, you know, and I had to drive hard out there at the end to keep up with him because he was so fast. But
what about that last restart?
I'm terrible. That's it. I'm terrible in all of them. So I got him back there, but I mean, it took a lot. But these guys again, we had a fast car yesterday. We thought we were pretty good. We tweaked on it some. Again, you know, guys just did a great job. What can I say? This is great. I mean, awesome. I mean, to be able to win. Fatback did a great job. Pit stops were great. Restarts were terrible, but the car was good. So that shows that they're a whole lot better than I am. But I tell you what, you know, like I said, I can't say enough. I hate Norm's not here with Interstate Batteries. the Chevrolet was great. Goodyear tires, great tire. We had no problems with it today. Advair, one of our sponsors, Coke, all the rest of them, MBNA. It's just been a great day, and like I said, it's great to win here at Atlanta.
You know, how special, though, Fatback's first win with you, Makar's first win as a team manager.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. I mean, Fatback, I mean, he's a great guy when he comes down to, coaching you on the racetrack, and we talk great on the radio, it seems like, so it's a lot of fun. This is not going to happen all the time, but sure, I'm glad it would happen this soon in the year.
Now, what did he tell you the last thing on the radio? He said he told you once.
He told me again. I can't tell you.
He said he's the Duke. Mike.
Chevy congratulates Bobby and the number 18 Monte Carlo on today's big win. Another reason why Chevy says wherever there's a winner's circle, we'll be there. Here's the Chevy winning moment as Bobby Labonte takes the lead for the final time after loosening up Jeff Gordon.
Let me tell you, and that's the way to take the lead right there. Just push the guy out of your way. That's a great move. That'll bring your crew to your feet, I guarantee you.
And it definitely did. There you see it. Had a lot of reason to celebrate those last 10 or 15 laps.
More from Atlanta after this. The fans file out, and they've got their money's worth today, and we've got a new point leader. Here's Jeannie.
Yes, and Matt Kenseth, a word from his wife. I'm sure it's congratulatory. The last Roush car left standing. Now, are you pleased with the fourth-place finish, or would you have liked better, but you lost the power steering?
I'd like better, and when we lost the power steering, it was weird. It wasn't like we just cut the hose off or cut the belt off. It was like it steered 10 times harder. So once we shut the motor off, it was okay. But when the motor was running, it was difficult to steer. So I probably didn't have much more than that anyway. I thought, we had maybe a top 3 car, top maybe a little better than that if we could have real long greens. But on a short run, I just got beat a little bit. So I'm the way everything was looking out there and how dominant all them front cars were, I was just happy to bring it forward home in fourth place. That was a great run for us.
A fight to the finish for you, and congratulations, you're the new points leader.
Yeah, that's good.
Tough enough to run here at Atlanta all day, feeling perfectly well, but Tony Stewart has had the flu, not feeling well in the car. What was it like for you today?
Long day. I mean, I could have used some Coke because that would have made me feel a lot better today in the car probably at times other than the water, but just a long day. I mean, the way we started this race without a caution for 90 laps or however long we went, that's pretty grueling on you. But this place is so fast and the corners are so long that you got to be feeling really good to make it through the whole day here. And I probably hurt the team as much as anything at the end. Just you just felt puny at the end of the last 100 laps and was getting a little bit tired. And that's what happens when you get a cold once in a while and can't get it shook for a whole week. You just lose your energy.
5th last week in Las Vegas, 5th today. That's pretty good. Mike?
Well, that's championship caliber. Darrell, Bobby Labonte's team had the best last pit stop to put him in position to win, but he still had to go and win it.
Oh, no, he had a great car. He led the most laps. He would run up front. But you just look at the record. You look at the record of him in Atlanta, and you got to be a big dummy like me not to pick him before the race started. I let Hammond have him, and I took Tony, which was not a bad pick either, but a great day for the Gibbs team.
Well, Larry, but still, you have that good pit stop, you make no mistakes, and you're there. Whether you're Jeff Gordon or Bobby Labonte, you're in a position to win.
I mean, that's it. And, they beat Matt Kenseth's group that we documented had a little over a 13-second pit stop. But I'm going to tell you, the group that's going to be working hard this week is the engine departments. It's been a long time since we've seen this many engine failures at a racetrack in one race.
Might be some Dodge guys working a little hard this week, too, because I didn't see too many of them in the top 10. So Chevys and Fords look like kind of dominated today. Chevys mostly.
5 Chevys in the top 10, 2 Dodges, 3 Fords.
3 Fords.
And some guys in that top 10 that needed some good runs. Jimmy Spencer, Dave Blaney, great run for him. Joe Nemechek as well.
Look at all these DNFs. Well, the clock turns back to 0, and we head for Darlington.
This is a good warm-up for next week. Get you in shape, baby.
All right. To Chris Myers and Jeff Hammond.
All right, thanks, guys. As we look at the points after 4 races, Michael Waltrip came in today as the points leader, slipping to 3rd with a poor run. And Jeff Hammond, Jack Roush had 3 of the top 6 drivers in points, but certainly took a hit with engines today. The story, Bobby Labonte and Joe Gibbs Racing. Joe Gibbs won 3 Super Bowls with 3 different quarterbacks. Of course, he's won a championship with Tony Stewart and Labonte. What was the success story behind Labonte today?
Well, I'm thinking right now, as they alluded to right now, it's the restructuring at Joe Gibbs Racing. I really believe by changing cars over like they did, switching Pontiac to Chevrolet, bringing Fatback McSwain in, as well as promoting Jimmy Maycar up to like a managerial position, has really resulted in some really consistent runs and wins here right now early on for Gibbs Racing. It's put them both back up there in the top 5 in points, and I think that's pretty good position for Gibbs.
Top 3 finishers today. Chevy, you think we're going to hear the wind tunnel story this week from the people at Ford and Dodge? I think that means we're going to hear
we're just whistling in the wind, baby.
All right, we'll keep an eye on it next weekend. You should gather around every weekend for NASCAR on Fox, and we'll shift to Darlington, South Carolina. First Winston Cup qualifying on Fox Sports Net, followed by a NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series on Speed. Saturday, NASCAR Busch Series racing on FX, a pre-race show, followed by Winston Cup practice. Sunday, NASCAR This Morning, presented by Smirnoff Ice, Triple Black. That's on Fox Sports Net. And then Winston Cup racing on Fox, so the pre-race show presented by Michelin as Sterling Marlin looks to defend his title at Darlington. And next week, we'll tell you which pit crew did the best with our McDonald's drive-through championship competition, fueled by Powerade. And, of course, you know that Bobby Labonte's pit crew helped him into victory lane. We want to thank a special crew here. We had some audio problems in the Hollywood Hotel, and they hustled. Scott Rothenberg, Jason Hawkins, Jack Noder, and the Fox Tech crew. Also Ben Altop, Steve Shaw, Patrick Perrin, and Katie Entwistle. The coordinating director of NASCAR on Fox, Artie Kempner. Coordinating producer, Richie Zions. Today's race produced by Neil Goldberg, directed by Rich Russo. Pit producer, Pam Miller and David Blatt. Technical producers Dave Hill and Steve Stump. The studio technical supervisor Jack Simmons. Senior producer Bill Brown. Executive producers of Fox Sports are Ed Gorn, David Hill. For all of us here, I'm Chris Myers. We'll see you next week.